gets knocked, taken down. Mustache has the world of his shoulders trying to stay alive. Game 1 of the EU FNCS, and you never imagined to be stuck in a situation like this after getting all that Grimgate loot. And now two different duos closing in on Mustache. This could be a great chance for Crimson Dawn and Sky Scroll to fight and try to distract one another.
To udělám stream, no. Doufám, že to je dobře slyšet.
And Nom's this duo partner there, so this is not a position you want to be in, especially just having lost your duo and still being below on Storm Surge, forcing you to play aggressive and bleeding to Mustache going down.
Which is really unfortunate for a team like Malibu or Mustache, probably one of the favorites to win, favorites to go back to back. We can't be too scared, can't fret too much. Day 1, 6 games, day 2, point multiplier on those 6 games, so plenty of time for any teams to really pick up the pace and catch up. And that's why I think today it's so important that players start to build themselves a cushion. Get yourself a huge lead, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
You don't, I don't, nobody does. Look at this though. They played aggressive, they got a bit of damage, but now once again, just 8 above. Same situation that Malibu and Mustache were just in. Any second, and you could go below here.
Zajímavý, jak se zastavují, že nejdou jako nějak extra rychle.
They've been here all game long, literally, which is why they're down on Surge. They're able to go in and out of these builds, go through unnoticed, not let their position be known either, which kind of makes for an easy rotation when they're finally able to make it. Really only one tough team stands in their path, and they're high up on this mountain where Venom and Tayson are not afraid to box up next to them either. You see the zones moving 6 zone. A lot of our competitors here today, Takata, are going to get forced into the interactions this late if they're slow to rotate.
I don't think I've ever seen so many duos just be 1-2 shots away from the Storm Surge threshold. Down to 7 above now. Truelex right into the box alongside Chicho. They take down 1, but 1 more to go. Are they going to continue the pursuit as time keeps ticking? HP keeps dropping. Truelex gets knocked from the zone, but Chicho cleans it up.
Yeah, as a 2-tick and the zone closes, it's going to be a 5-tick. Chicho has no choice but to leave Truelex behind and continue on with himself, which is almost a reverse. It literally is almost a reverse of how they got to the grand finals in the first place. Chicho went down. Truelex was forced to clutch up. I think he got like 38 or something solo impact points, which was huge for their moment with it being only 3 games. So now, Chicho, it's your turn to return the favor.
Careful though, there was a duo. If they were just turned around looking, could have been a free pickup onto Chicho, but now he's got it into zone, making a lot of boxes here to show that he's not low on materials, even though he is. Will he get time to pop the medkit though?
It's just unfortunate because he has to use all these materials just to stay alive, but the more he uses, the more he's putting himself in a situation to have to get some sort of elimination. Gets out of the focus of one team, right into the focus of another team. He just needs some chance to breathe here and get that med kit off. He has 8 points, those 2 eliminations. One team, Takata, needs to go down, and then placement points will start to come in.
Kamera sety.
Seti have been doing.
Pinga zabili. Díko vypadá, že možná umře na zónu. Asi popůvku
down. Quick combo of the water bending plus Seti taking shots. I don't know if Vico's going to be still up as a solo, but either way, not a position you want to be in. Both players did get eliminated, so they're out of game 1, but Snazy put aside. 161 above, actually looking quite strong.
Yeah, I was talking to a lot of people, both NA, EU, talking about these wings, talking about how fabulous they are from rotation, and nobody really used them. You know as well as I do, very few teams really use them at all. Now we're seeing them as a huge focal point of a lot of people's rotation strategy, especially here into the end game, where you need to cover those short distances in one quick burst.
Sleduju teďka FNCS-ko, dneska už jsem hrál.
Again, taking a look, Benno Tayson. They've been kind of on that borderline threshold
já už mám totiž volno, víš, tak jsem si řekl, že začnu zase streamovat.
Part of the game, basically, but so far they've been doing it well. Queasy Thomas are actually going to be the duo that's close to them. As they'll continue just looking for these shots, but it's basically just getting yourself in a position where you can play this late game out with still a good amount of loot. Materials have been used to try and find these tags, but all it really takes is one refresh in the late game, and then you're back in business.
It almost feels like Venom and Tayson right now are just taking things so slow. They're letting the game kind of play out, 1, and probably do the same thing in game 2. And once they get a feel of how the entire lobby is playing, I expect them to come online just a little bit more. Thomas and Queasy, changing things up drastically. 4 eliminations up until this point. Have to be feeling good when it comes to that Storm Surge, but a max pull for them and a couple other players in the lobby, which isn't going to be hard for them to cover that distance. You see the wings yet again coming out, which makes rotations like this, and you see how many other teams they now have just bypassed on this rotation and gained priority over.
That's what you love to see. I mean, Queasy's two of Queasy's 3 FNCS titles have come in the second FNCS of the year. So now that we're here once again, it might just be time for Queasy and Thomas HD to pop off. But I don't want to speak too soon. This is the first match. It's 2 days of competition, 6 matches each day, total of 12. The ones who look like they might eventually be able to hold high here, it's Kami and Seti, which might be something a little different than we would have expected. But at the same time, they could just be looking for tags here, and they'll drop down later. You can see how good of a position this is, especially when you have that waterbending mythic capitalizing on all the players rotating in.
My biggest worry for them is their materials. If somebody tries to battle for high, they won't be able to hold on to it. Put aside Snaze, they go down to Swizzy and Vanyak. Huge elimination for them. But knocking on the door right after is Queasy Thomas. He takes a huge shot, getting fought back, even knocked down by Vanyak and Swizzy. Teamwork is too strong coming out of them, and now Thomas, he's going to feel the pain. Vanyak ready to go in, but he quickly backtracks, reunite, not knowing to get too greedy in a situation like this in the endgame.
Looking so strong from 4 elims. To both players being up and healthy to now Thomas HD cracked, 75 effective HP and shield, 0 builds, and just 6 minis.
Thanks to those wings, though, I'm not necessarily too concerned. The biggest thing is those resources, the builds, or I should say the lack thereof it. Here's both Vanyak and Swizzy rotate on out. No, he's in a much safer position for now, but how safe can you really be without materials? Even if you rotate out of the spot, you got to find a way to catch yourself one way or another.
You said you're not concerned. I'm concerned, Jacob. I am very concerned right now. 0 materials in a grand finals. I mean, you can be Thomas HD, but it's not going to be easy. You can even see Tace and Benno, both players down. Maybe hold my thought though. Thomas with another elim, now dropped to 25 HP, still no shield to work with, as he's just playing the back end of zone here, trying to scavenge as many placement points as possible.
Yeah, another elimination. He was the one who actually took down Benno. Wings keeping him alive, up layer, down layer. Zone's gonna pull back, and he found the perfect crevice to try to stay alive, but he has to watch out. Risk and Svi rotating on by right next to him, but I don't think they or anybody else have noticed Thomas up to this point.
Prime location. All it takes is a bit of awareness though from the duos in the surrounding area to find Thomas HD. It's a free elim. Chapentini, Jacob. Game 1 on the high ground.
You would never have guessed this is Chap's first FNCS finals. He is playing like a veteran, like he's been here more than enough. But Vanyak has definitely been here for sure. Down goes Teeny, down goes Chap. High ground changes hands, and at the perfect moment in the end game.
This isn't a qualifier. This isn't the semifinals. This is the grand finals, and Chapentini learned that quickly.
You know what, Scroll, Sky, they have plans of their own as well. Everybody fighting in the late game, trying to topple over high, forcing them down. They didn't have the build to keep on pursuing that high ground, so they had to drop down in a top 10 situation, second height. But look how far away from they are from everybody else on that low ground, and they had no choice but to continue dropping down in all that madness.
Kami and Seti playing like we love to see, full-on consistency. They've claimed low. They're incredibly healthy. Only issue is no materials. They're going to have to take a 2 versus 2 here shortly. Can they come out on top?
Yeah, he mentioned the Kami curse to start the show. It might look like a Kami blessing, another top position. Unfortunate enough, Kami's finally going to go down. Seti trying to go to the back, cancels the med kit, had no choice. Thank God his Splash going to be the one to take them down, along with a little help from Debut, who actually steals away that elimination. Top 5 position with everybody looking strong as duos.
Skivy, Haris now. Looks like their second height here. They do have to be careful as they look above. Scroll, get shots taken at. They are building in wood. They might be low on materials. The drop down might come soon.
Yeah, but Swizzy and Vanyak still waiting in the wings. They were the ones to play Busters and Disruptors once. Almost tries to find another elimination, but Font takes him down. Ends the run of Swizzy and Vanyak at top 5, but you can see he's still going through a roller coaster of emotions, trying to make it in zone, trying to stay alive, but high ground's going to be fought for at the very end of the game. Scroll and Sky versus Riss and Skvi.
Nice shots connecting from Sky here. Just one more needs to connect to take down the last player, but Scroll has been fully cracked. Sky cleans it up, though. Another Elim on the board. They have height. They just need to close out the game.
A huge change up from the semifinals. They were the ones contesting Yanis and Flixie. They went down in almost 2-3 straight games. They've learned their lesson. They've adapted, and they're trying to come out on top, but unfortunate accidents happen. Sky goes down, which leaves Scroll in a 1v2 to end game 1.
Skroll bude muset tlačnout. Delix down. Sentix hraje zónu. Tohle možná vyhraje. Scroll. Asi ne.
Yeah, he has to figure out at least what direction to run into. The first one's gonna go down. He dives into the storm, checks the first bush. Nowhere in sight, nowhere to be found. Relvis and Debule win game 1 of the EU FNCS.
Nevím, ale
the grand finals from height getting changed every second duel by duel. Camiseti attempting to survive on the low ground. This is how you want to start a grand final.
And this has shown us a little bit of foreshadowing that it is not going to be easy for any one of these teams. You called it. Seti and Cammy having high ground. Vaniac and Swizzy stealing it away. And at the very moment, Sky and Scroll. But it was none of those high grounds teams. It didn't matter how high in the sky you were at to end the game. Debule and Relvis going almost unnoticed on the low ground with 7 eliminations to take the game away.
I mean, they showed the chemistry. It's what led them to those final moments. You had Titans going down before that. Case and Veno, Thomas HD, Queasy, but the high ground ruled strong. Jacob, so much just happened in that game. I need some people to help us out. So Frankie, what did we miss?
I don't think you missed a moment, boys. That was a fantastic first game. And so exciting to see all the changes at the top of high ground. But in the end, Levin, it came down to Debule's planning with those 2 med kits to his name.
I mean, yeah, heal off beats all at the end of the day, right? I don't think we expected to see a bunch of that. To be fair, I think a lot of people have almost forgotten the possibilities of heal off. That endgame was going almost very typical, I'd say, in many ways, right? We had Sky and Scroll, the team that had eliminated Manabuka and Mustache, so they had that Grimgay loot, and when that team decides to go for height, it's typically, you know, jobs are good and games done. But the Bull and Relvis said, nah. We don't play by those rules. We're going to do our own thing with these medkits. And I mean, they were hunting in this endgame. You see here when they took down Cammy and Seti, like, they didn't just passively, you know, pass their way by Mini. They really took it by force.
Yeah, they really did. And it was those eliminations right there that really secured them. The amount of refreshes, the amount of materials, those medkits that they needed to go on to win that game. Absolutely beautifully played from these guys. And just the thought, in game 1 of Grand Finals, when the lights are as bright as they've been all season, just think, right, let's just calm down, let's go into the storm, let's take these medkits and hope that it works out. Of course, it did work out for them. We haven't seen too much from these guys this season. They haven't been popping off, starring on the top of the leaderboards, but they're definitely a duo to look out for this weekend, clearly, because they know how to play that low ground so well.
I was so excited to see how aggressive our duos were straight out the gate. And Swizzy and Vaniac, they were a personal highlight for me.
Wow.
Just fighting all the way to the top. I particularly enjoy them taking out Snazy and Podesai and Mini Miner. And I love the use of the Icarus wings as well.
Look at this. We haven't seen this. I have not seen this happen in this level of FNCS lobby this season yet. We haven't seen wings too much in play, and I'm sure we'll speak about those. But the way that they took height here, the way that they took it upon themselves to stay on the backside of zone, then sneak attack onto the high ground team was absolutely perfect. Unfortunately, they didn't have the materials, the minerals to stay up there, so they had to drop on down, which of course was their demise at the end. But it shows this team are confident. This is exactly what we expect from both of these guys, because they're 2 of the best fighters in the region, right? We expect big things, and they showed it to us there in game 1.
Ruthless aggression is the way you describe those guys right now.
Yeah, so many ruthlessly aggressive duos. Let's take a look though at who managed to aggress their way
Který
up
teďka
the
vyhráli,
leaderboard during
Double a
that
Relis,
match. It
jsou
was
první.
certainly a lot
Druhý je
of teams who maybe hadn't come close to impressing us, or maybe haven't impressed us so far this season, but haven't necessarily taken a championship.
Ona totiž byla jenom jedna hra, tak to jsem
Were
nezačal tak pozdě,
I mean, Sky and
Svíze na 4.
Scroll, I
místě,
have to say, Levin, were
Sety na
incredibly
6.
impressive. They
místě,
have been threatening the top all season
Thomas
long,
a
but when
Kvízy
it
jsou na
counts,
10.
they are performing.
I mean, they were the beneficiaries of a problem Manabuka and Mustache have had consistently, right? We've spoken about it before in previous seasons. Man, Buchem has struggle on Surge, and so they desperately tried to take a fight with Sky and Scroll, and they were like, no, we're not going to just be pushed over. They win that fight, and so they have that Grimgate loot now, and so they say, okay, what do we do with Grimgate loot? We play for high ground, and they did it incredibly well. Big props to Sky and Scroll. They weren't landing at Reckless Railways throughout the season, decided not to go there and deal with Genesis and Fixie. A lot of question marks about that, right? Because they did that exact same thing. Last grand finals didn't quite work out for them, so a lot of people were going, hold on a minute, like, what is the game plan here? Same thing seems to be going pretty right. Again, will they be able to fight Malibu and Mustache every game and get that Grimgate loot? Probably not. This will probably be one of the better games they have throughout the weekend. But I think they made, you know, the most of the situation for sure.
Yeah, you have to do that. When you do get that Grimgate coin, when you do get that Grimgate shotgun, it has to be a good game from you guys. There's always that pressure on your shoulders of like, right, okay, we've got the best loot in the game. We have to do well here.
Jo, takže zrovna to ukážou.
Definitely were in their favor down there towards the south side of the map, sort of southwest area. But they used it to perfection. As you mentioned, Levin, I was a bit shocked about them actually switching their drop spot away from Reckless Railways. I thought they're landing more towards like the east side, down the south of the map there at Snooty Steps. And I was like, you know, is this really going to be the best option for them? But it seems like they're able to make something out of a game no matter what. So this is a duo I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of this weekend.
And in 15th position, we have our debut finalist, Chap, with his more experienced Euro partner, Teeny. And they went for that high ground. And I absolutely loved in that game hearing Jacob and Takata be like, it's Chap, it's Teeny. And then immediately they're knocked off their perch, I think, by Swissy and Vaniac Miniminder coming to spoil the party. But do you think they made enough of a statement in game number 1?
100%, yeah. I was looking at this team. They were 200 above Surge, and that first Storm Surge popped, and I was like, right, this is great for this team, because I know that, you know, going into that first Grand Finals game, it's going to be very, very difficult for a first-time Grand Finalist in Chap to keep his nerves, to keep calm, but they seem to approach the Storm Surge really well. They weren't just mindlessly jumping in boxes, they weren't taking too many risks, but they were taking those sort of mid-game fights that definitely enabled them to stay above, and then, of course, take high. You can see the issue, though, when you look at their materials. They just didn't quite have the materials to actually fight Vaniac all the way up on top, and it just wasn't going to work out for them when you have a team literally winging on top of you. So for those guys, I like the ambition.
I would just really want to say quickly before we go into game number 2, Levin, you did not agree with Miniminder there.
I didn't agree. I did not agree. I thought every single height team in the lobby was on height at one point in that game, so they got to do more.
Okay, well, let's see if Chap and Teeny can impress you in this next game as we head back to Jacob and Takata.
What a tall task. You guys are really making them step up to the plate, really hit it out of the park yet again. But congratulations one more time. The Buell's first VR in an FNCS Finals really topples almost everything we were talking about on the day to kind of who's going to win, who's going to do good. We didn't mention them, and they showed us.
It's a great confidence booster as well, right? Being your first VR in a Grand Finals. But let's see if that momentum can continue forward, because the Battle Bus is ready for game number 2.
Nemám nějak to dopadne. Já bych čekal, Marius bude podle mě
also, Takata, throughout that game, and for everybody watching at home, it was almost a battle of our high dominant teams, almost the top 5 in that last game. Risk and Svi, Swizzy and Vaniac, Seti and Cammy, and overall was won by Sky and Scroll in the end. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to close it out, but you're seeing real shines of greatness from so many players here today.
Starting off once again, shining through the Mount Olympus here, Thomas HD Queasy finished off the early game engagement quickly and instantly just started continuing on their loot path. Will they be able to do it again, though? That's the big question.
Yeah, it almost seems like, I wouldn't say they left early, but they got the loot that they were safely able to get. Maybe a couple shots at Mount Olympus and then went straight for that bunker, which they were obviously met by another one of our top teams here in this lobby, which they had to kind of disengage from. But you're seeing a lot of the adaptations coming out from Queasy and Thomas, which you didn't really see a lot of up until this point. So I'm glad to see a team as great as they have continues to kind of mix it up in the biggest moment of it all.
Trexer, though, has lost Glebski, which is dangerous, especially having so many duos close by. Clownski lost Axe Force as well. Both solos now head to head.
Big Trex dostane asi.
He's just gonna kind of go on the chase. Maybe we should have just protected himself just a little bit more. Clownski quickly turning around, making him regret that decision. And luckily for him, you can see they're just on the outside of Mount Olympus. So none of those teams realistically should try to venture over, finish off the solo. So I think he has a great shot to get his teammate back.
Sky Scroll. We saw what they were capable of in game 1. But to make it happen once again, they have to get out of this early game. Shots coming through the windows. You can tell how well they know how to play their drop. Rotating through, covering themselves, but will they full on commit to this engagement? I'm not quite sure.
I'm almost not even sure like how realistic it is. I see Toos was trying to put down some of that cover fire and a whole nother duo right below. And once you kind of hear all that, you notice each other, and you notice it's not going to be as safe as it was. Pleasant Park either, a fight that we saw in the beginning of that last game. And honestly, I think there's another team here towards Pleasant Piazza that may have started out in fencing fields in last game.
Fokusovat, protože tam je docela málo loot, maximálně tak jako na každý ten tým brokovnice a
It's interesting, it seems like normally in the grand finals you don't see players switching up their drop game plan too much because there was so much prep and work that was put into it. But sometimes I guess just after one game it might be enough to change your mind.
Pak jdete do endgameu s ničím, nebo s malým lootem.
Surprised to see like everybody kind of disengaging out of Pleasant Piazza for now, but it's very, very busy. At least 4 teams in this direction. So I'm personally a little bit surprised not to see too many early engagements going down. But with an extra team over in the mix, it does make it a little bit more risky.
Ooh.
With
this Grim Gate looking a lot more aggressive this time around. Before it was more pop shots from different areas. One duo grabbed the height, other just tried and secure the medallion. Looks like Malibu Merstash got quite a few tags off, but not enough for them to feel comfortable enough to go fully in. The Underworld, another place contested by 3 duos, one of them being Marius and Sandguild. It looks like from those 3 duos, there's only one left. And it might even just be one player. Where's Turtle's duo?
Trying to see where Cheeps is at. He's actually on the high ground. Yeah, using that water bending ability to try to couple more damage. Marius knocks him down to size. A couple shots are going to get through, and the knock is going to be achieved along with the elimination. Marius and Sangel continue to find ways to operate at the Underworld. It looks like he might have even boxed up Turtle here for the moment. They're ready to go in. Turtle's ready to go out as him and Cheeps run in game 2 quickly comes to an end.
Turtle put back into his shell, now forced to wait for the 3rd game as we quickly switch on over. Nefrizzi Howley looking to see what they can clean up.
A lot of these early game fights and no eliminations just yet, but that is some big damage on Nefrizzi. Pixie's there trying to back him up. Howley is also trying to join the mix, alleviate some of the pressure, but quick thinking, quick shots coming out from Pixie. Both of these players are basically down and out, and you can see them trying to attack from many different angles and walks, while being distracted by Pixie is able to easily clean up both of those eliminations and defend their turf.
Great way to continue it through. Dexia Eclipse now. Extremely aggressive on this duo on the edge of the map. You know, there's not too many teams close by, so they should have a lot of freedom here if they end up wanting to close it out. But so far, it looks like it's pop shots, it's angles trying to be found.
Yeah, a lot of time, like you said, over at this side of the map. Knowing you have a ton of comfortability, knowing it's not going to be third parties. It's basically down to a 2v2, which hopefully a lot of these players have practiced up to this point. Splash is down below, just trying to make space for himself and his duo. Dexy just continuously trying to hound from multiple angles, catch him off guard. And you can see they're playing very, very careful with the high ground, so that way when it comes down to it, they can easily try to disengage on out, knowing that they got enough damage to where they can at least feel comfortable from here on out.
Tak se snaží trošku refarmnout nějaký matro, aby měli fresh matro na
fighting. Great way to start it off as we go back over to the Grim Gate. We talked about it previously. There is kind of that Grim Reaper, as Frankie called them, for Doxian Trip. You play on the outskirts of the Grim Gate and come into attack as everybody else is fighting as a potential 3rd or 4th party, but you can see how much loot they've actually secured already. And shields and everything. I mean, they're looking quite healthy. Only ammunition is what they're lacking. But it looks like they might even be being chased here on the minimap. Yeah, shots coming in from Vestroki. The waterbending mythic. But it looks like they're just right behind Merstash and Malabuka. Wanting
Týnil na low groundu, snaží se refarnout nějaký matron. Nevypadá, že jsou na tom úplně dobře.
Towers fights kind of go down. Very, very similar to the Grim Gates ones. You get a lot of knowledge, and TD and Chap yet again are going to get back-to-back forecast towers in these games, and already you see them 15th place on that leaderboard, so a huge tool in their tool belt to continue to make it long and far into these end games, especially when it comes to being able to go to the slower side of that rotation of the zone, knowing where and when to kind of attack it. For Doxy's shield's getting dropped off by Mustache on the other side. Him and Malibuca just trying to take multiple angles, and the thing is, they don't necessarily know this is Tripper and Ferdoxy, but Tripper and Ferdoxy might have a huge clue, thanks to the medallion, that this is Mustache and Malibuca, so they're able to plan accordingly.
So far, no warnings of a big threat, as shots continue to be shot from both ends. No danger for either duo yet.
Se snaží fightit
it's kind of that back and forth that we see around these bunkers time in and time out. Until a big shot's connected, you can choose to continue that momentum and play extra aggressive, but nothing happens. It might just be a little bit of damage for both duos.
Yeah, what's worrisome is what you kind of mentioned moments ago is the ammunition for Tripper and Ferdoxy. It is not a ton in his Thunderburst and even less in his Gatekeeper. So both of these guys are kind of on the clock when it comes to how long they can actually stay in this situation. And I was wondering where Cammy was at because I was watching the feed. Said he was taken down, he was taken out altogether. Kind of leaves a lot on the shoulders of Cammy. With the zone moving towards the north, it's not going to be too hard for him to try to get the reboot card back, but you could see the big thing in his path. It might look like the card is being camped for now, hoping that Cammy goes back for it, and he's hoping that maybe that's where he's going to get a second elimination.
This is a tough spot to be in so far in zone, especially with the amount of damage they have to secure. We'll see if they make the comeback, but let's get right back to the party. Looks like another duo has joined, but so far they're just kind of taking a peek at it, deciding is it worth it to commit to.
Bunkr se otvírá. Nenávidím fighty o bunkr. Nejnudnější a nejpotřebnější fighty, hlavně pro mě, jako někoho, kdo neví a nemá rád box fighty.
The thing is, these two teams down below fighting over the bunker may not even necessarily know where these guys are positioned right on the outside. Cammy now went back for the card. It was actually being watched on over. And this is a big chance with his opponent weak for him to kind of come out on top. Depending on if you got the reboot card or not, don't necessarily mind the disengage either. But definitely Cammy is now going to be on the clock with only 2 bananas left.
On the other end, Mustache has gone down, Trip as well. It's a 1 versus 1 for Doxy up against Malibuca. Third party is still on the outskirts, and they're going to be getting closer.
Trade for trade. Now you got Fastroki coming in on the other side. Malibuca goes right back on in, taking down Ferdoxy and Triprin, but ends up in another 1v2 situation with even less shields than he had before. Quick thinking, going in and out of the box, trying to reposition himself, and he's in a spot right now with another third-party team coming in. That could be the distraction that he needs to figure out a way to stay alive here, because there's a lot of fallen loot on those players from before, and there's even probably some scraps left over in the bunker.
Když ten jeden tým zdrhne, tak
Bunker now gonna get secured in Malibuca. Only thing he got was those 2 eliminations from Trip and Ferdoxy. Lost his duo partner in the meantime.
Tým pod ním. Takže jinak je mrtvej.
How long is Malibuca gonna wait right now?
Co jsou v bunkru,
Does he know that team is there? Just so many questions right now, Takada.
Snaží se udělat nějaký play, protože mu to vyjde, ale řekl Styx jdou za ním. Tím, který který ho předtím předpartioval, nevím, jestli splnit. Ale řeka je hrozně otravná, když potřebuješ zmizet z fightu. Nebo když někdo tím Malibuca se snaží dát nějaký pressure zpátky.
Malibuca is actually trying to hide, get a little bit of a cheeky shot, and quickly dashes on back. But sooner or later, he's going to run out of those dashes and need to re-reach the water, and that's why he's taking a little bit of a detour in this building, trying to regenerate as much of that sprint as possible. Roban, for a moment there, ran out himself, but he's still just hot on the chase for Malibuca until he finally goes down. It's going to be a big elimination for Fastroki and Roban.
Take a look at what happened to Cammy here.
Sete je furt mrtvej.
With his attempt to get back to zone.
Cammy konečně sejmul týpka, který kempuje rebůtku, ale očividně nechce resovat, možná už vypršel čas, tam není vidět. A nebo prostě
said he was down for quite a while, but I know Cammy at least made one effort to go in before disengaging that far out. If he has this reboot card, gets close to zone, it is going to be a one tick. He has the legendary banana for speed, he has the flowberry fizz, and then he has multiple opportunities here for damage. This is almost like a replay of last major's Malibuca qualifier to where he went in the zone, he stayed in there for a long time while still getting searched. That way, if he does get the reboot back up, they're not going to be so far down that Storm Surge threshold, having to fight their way back up.
Šetří banány na horší příležitosti. Banány je rozhodně lepší jak metky, takže se to rozhodně vyplatí. Nekonečný sprint, nebo ne nekonečný sprint, ale automaticky dochargeuje sprint, sprintuješ s ním rychleji, celou gravity máš u toho. A dává se jen necelou sekundu, takže rozhodně o dost lepší.
Chucking some medkits a little bit later on, try to keep them moving. They're not too far off from the zone. Not going to do too much damage. You see, there's just one solo player rotating just to the east of them, trying to make their way there. Hopefully he doesn't get spotted out by Venno and Tayson. Their team, you can almost for sure count on them to try to pounce on a solo if they see that opportunity. And in the distance, finally he's getting spotted out, and it's Cammy of all people by himself. He's already put in a lot of work to not only get the reboot card back, but take down the opponent who took down Seti. So to go down now would just be a huge disaster for Cammy and Seti.
Nebo z ní mají respekt, když je solo. Potřebují rotatenout do zóny co nejrychleji, se nechtějí být banány. Což dává smysl, jo. Nejvíc OP White Island,
with fourth zone now coming to a close though, you can see Storm Surge.
Storm Surge přichází.
Pace and Venno though, looks like they're not going to be as much as much in a rush as they were last game, being such on the borderline, but
myslím si, že Cammy tím, že je sám, tak bude mít docela těžký se udržet na trash roonem. Neviděl jsem, kolik má sice damage teďka v tuhle chvíli, ale...
Game number 1 victors. You gotta be feeling so good. Come in, get your first VR in FNCS Finals history for yourself. Teammate has to be feeling confident. 97 points. All they have to do realistically is just kind of keep up the pace. A lot of the teams, you know, that we expected to have good games in game 1 did not necessarily. I feel like it's only a matter of time before those things start to switch up. So if they can just continue to stay ahead of their competition, like I said, day 1 all about building that cushion for day 2, where there is a point multiplier for both eliminations and placement points overall.
Maniac getting tagged. As he was continuing to look for those shots. They do have that one elimination already, so hopefully not in too much of an urgency to find a lot more, but just 9 seconds until 5th zone will appear, forcing a lot of these duos to rotate.
Maniac
already so far has about like 1,700 damage up until this point in game 2. 3 eliminations. Him and Swizzy just figuring always out a way to make things work throughout this competition. You're going to see a far pull for some of these teams, all while still having to worry about Storm Surge in this next zone, Takada.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot to be in. Taking a look at the leaderboard too, it's so close, all these duos. You can't even think of it that way with so many matches to be played out. It's all about being able to get out of these situations consistently. Queasy Thomas HD lining up a 3-2-1 into walks. Few shots connected, but no crack.
I really like how they've been able to adapt in game 1 with a different zone. You see them yet again adapting with their loadout. No wings this time around. Trying to take an extra heal. Obviously, the Flowberry Fizz is going to be a must for some of these rotations, and they're not too far off from zone. So as long as they can work on their Storm Surge, and my question instantly answered, 400 above, Thomas and Queasy have to be in such a great position in this game to possibly get a top 5, top 10. That's where this team has to start getting those consistent placements towards the top of the leaderboard. You cannot win an FNCS off of eliminations alone.
Yeah, if any duo is going to capitalize on having a bunch of damage so early on, Thomas HD and Queasy, they know how to play out of grand finals. They've done it multiple times. I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, They have a huge match here. Skvi though, nice 105.
Těsně nad threshold, teďka už by dostávali damage, kdyby ten hit netrefil.
Trying to give him a bit of time to breathe.
Budou rotatit přes low gravity effect.
113.
Že se nechali dash na potom.
Scrolls just having a little bit more of a rough time trying to stay alive, but on the other side it's Chap versus Scroll essentially in a 1v1 situation.
Asi myslím si, že úplně neresne.
Trade for the rebuy, but Scroll realized he doesn't want to let this trade go out for free. He did not have the advantage in terms of that revive, so if they were going to go for a trade, he would be put in a 1v2 much quicker than the other side as Sky finally gets cleaned up. Teeny goes down as well, so it's official. They will be left as solos no matter what happens in this fight as Scroll is trying to fight his way back. Almost surviving with a legendary banana. Both of these players popping that banana, and it kept them with just a sliver of HP. That's going to be a huge win for Chap, but it's only going to be short-lived because right now he's getting aggressed on yet again.
The win must have felt good, but only for a couple seconds until shots came through from Raban. The thing is, I don't think Raban actually tagged Chap, so he did not know how low he was. Also being in the zone is going to cause him to rotate right back in. There is another duo sneaking up. So much damage has been dealt by Chap and Teeny that they don't have to worry about tags, but Skvi and Haris, nice pickup onto Vortexers, Volko maybe. Followed on shortly after, but the pressure's still on for those duos.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for them to kind of get that reboot or revive back on up, heal up, and get a good position in the zone. That's why you see teams like this, as soon as the zone begins to move, they go into those rifts, they immediately try to cover as much distance as possible. But you can see they're getting tagged in from some high positions off the side of that mountain. So as good a position as they could have got, they got to settle for this, which isn't too bad, as long as Marius can start to heal up and alleviate some of the pressure that is bound to come.
Scary shot got connected.
See,
Chap was able to do it. It looks like he actually might have been able to. We got both elims and the reboot onto his duo. A little pack of little llamas knocking on his door that he picked up. Hopefully now that's going to give him enough to make it back into zone. Cammy, though, still left alone.
That was a huge elimination. Unfortunately, short-lived. They did just get taken down as well. But it just goes to show the potential of this team. They can fight any fight. They can almost get out of any situation. But when you're put in a sour situation after sour situation, eventually those will kind of get the best of you. Cammy, we've seen him literally almost at the start of the game up until now as a solo. And this is going to be some big points here for Cammy and Seti if they're able to kind of get these impact points that Cammy's looking for by himself.
Taking a peek.
Protože zatím žádný shoty nebere. Což je docela zvláštní, protože Thomas je jeden z pro hráčů, který mají nejlepší aim.
Before his opponents, and not a single shot has landed onto him. Shows you how useful that Flowberry Fizz can be if you put a great mind alongside it.
Now they see him. They finally saw him as soon as he got past enemy lines. Queasy's like, hey, did you see this guy back here? Thomas said, nah, I don't. Is he a solo? Now if they don't have the information that Cammy even got there, they might not even know that he's a solo by himself. He's built boxes too wide, so it's going to be easy for him to cloud himself. But you see Queasy and Thomas, now that they noticed his location, they are moving over in that direction because they don't want to let anybody get past them for free. They waited till the zone opened up. Then they move to cover that position. That way they have the best and safest line of sight.
You can see what happened to Cringe here. Looks like it was a solo knocking on his door, but quickly turned lethal as they picked up their 5th elim of the match.
Teďka je to hrozně divně, kdy play jsou bugly ty crosshairy.
Queasy and Thomas landing over on that side of the map, which gives them a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility. It's almost in the center map with multiple bunker options.
Není to až tak staklý, myslím si, že v tu chvíli tam bylo zhruba 50 lidí minulou hru, že to je o trošku méně staklý, než bylo.
Some of the struggles from them going down relatively early in that last game, or at least earlier than they would hope. It's going to be a big moment for them to pop off, start to build that momentum, and really carry it on with them to the second half of the day.
Queasy mají docela dobrou zónu.
You see zone hands pulled towards Thomas HD and Queasy here. That 8th zone is all the duos now. Try and prep the rotation to get there. Just 7 seconds till zone starts closing. Swizzy Vaniak. Look at their loadout. Look at their materials. Even the mobility, they have it all.
4 banány se savely. Low gravity. A ještě křídla, jako myslím si, že rotate pro ně nebude problém. Budou mít dost na gamey. Myslím, to není nějak nepodělají. Nádherná střela od kamene. Přesně na to, aby mu to klačilo damage, který žil.
And eventually it might start to build up to where you can go for elimination if he does find a player by himself, a splash and feint.
Taky další klač od Nikoda.
Easily covers that gap. Does look like his teammate was getting aggressed on. He's quickly there to save the day. That first shot did so much because look how much his teammate survived with. If he didn't land that shot, his teammate would have for sure went down.
Banana dropped. HP recuperated, but for how long? After saving his teammate, now he's the one that needs saving. Both players gone down. Difficult rotate in. Marius, Sangild are going to be the ones that capitalized on that. As they have to be careful though. So many duos surrounding them. I'm not even sure if they can get the loot.
Získali refresh.
Marius just being very, very careful. I don't know if he heard you talk about how dangerous it was. Quickly turns around, builds the wall. And now he's just feeling it out one layer at a time before he moves forward. One of the first teams to rotate though is going to be Tayson and Veno, trying to get the slower, at least congested side of the zone. There is a couple of teams meeting them in their path, a little bit of high ground, but currently distracted. This would be the perfect time for them to try to move forward, but Veno with snipe in hand, just kind of waiting. This is something that he does, him and Tayson. They target out that high ground team, which right now looks like to be Queasy and Thomas.
We talked about how healthy they were looking, how good of a match this could be for Queasy and Thomas. But what have I just done? As soon as I say it, Thomas HG gets knocked and Queasy as well.
Oh, disaster strikes yet again for Thomas and Queasy from second place by 1 point to having a nightmare of a first day throughout 2 games. But Cammy, he's really trying to make up for his teammate going down early. 24 points as a solo so far. 28 if you count his elimination that he was able to get early on. Still making things happen, but Cringe Noms, 5 eliminations so far. They have the biggest control over the high ground, but I don't want to say it too soon. Last game we saw 4 or 5 teams, and you already see one waiting in the wings to steal it away.
You can see Veno Tayson not only getting ahead, also moving up layers, getting closer and closer to that second height, where they have a potential angle with the sniper rifle for height. Marius left alone, forced to pop the banana, and he's going to play back his zone here.
Yeah, no troubles yet. Just staggering himself. That way he can have a clear field. Straight ahead. He finds another Flowberry Fizz, which isn't much, but 1 charge is better than none as Marius trying to make it in towards the zone. Doesn't have a lot of build to protect himself, especially if he gets pounced on like this. Barely had enough, but now with his HP being dwindled, not enough shields to get him back up to full HP. No builds to his name as well. Marius has to find some sort of elimination.
As the clock keeps ticking, the zone keeps pulling further. And his materials now drop to 0. He needs an impact frag, he needs an elimination. But he gets dropped down to 6 HP. Shots continuing from above. Goes down. Cammy now left alone.
Yeah, it was Pink and Vico who sniped away that elimination and get a chance to get the Underworld Medallion. And a team like Pink and Vico with the ability to have Siphon will be huge, especially when they just take down Veno. Struck right through him, separating him and Tayson went down as well. Another run has been ended by one of the most consistent teams in Major 2.
This is a lethal duo in the late game, especially when they're both up. They have the chemistry. They know how to secure elimination after elimination on the low ground, and they're going to do exactly that.
They've had only 1 elimination in game 1, playing a little bit slow, but now's the time to pick up the pace. Cammy having a wonderful game, 44 points. All that's a solo since the start of the game, reaching to a top 6 position. Still has some bandages left, and right now he's trying to target out high ground. That's Sinet, that's Vanyak and Swizzy, excuse me, there, who spotted him out at the tail end. Even though they're getting chopped down, it's no worries for them.
This is incredible. Top 6 already as a solo, basically. Cammy, he's not even done yet. Sees a duo, forced to back down. Shots from above, no materials, not many options. Eventually gonna drop. It's Pink, it's Vico, but Vico goes down as well. Pink gets the knock on Vanille as he continues his wrath.
No Cypher coming out from Pink. They weren't able to get the medallion, and I think that is going to be it. Barring any miracles, as Pink gets shut down, taken out. It's Swizzy, it's Vanyak there on the high ground, and they're targeting out Reason, who's all by himself, all by his lonesome, and stood no chance against Swizzy and Vanyak, who steal away game 2.
double-digit 11 elimination victory royale. This is one of the duos we talked about in the honorable mentions that could take home Major 2 as champions. They drop at Brawlers Battleground, and from southern part of the map all the way to up north, they secured the VR. It's really what you love to see.
Man, they started this game with 5 eliminations in game 1. They knew that wasn't enough. They had a ton left in the tank. They realized it's a marathon and not a race, and they even matched their elimination totals invested in this game. Swizzy alone, and it's moments like this, like that right there, where you survive with just 5 HP and a dream, and then you eventually just take the game with double-digit eliminations. Takata, impressive.
And they're eliminating the best of the best on the European region. This isn't the qualifiers, this is the semis, this is the grand finals, and what a way to start it off. Game 2 was incredible, but there are surely some things that we missed, so Frankie, Levin, Vinny, what do you got?
Hrozně se tyho, aby utekl.
Thank you very much, guys. It's compelling to see the consistent picture that is building up right now for Swizzy and Vaniak. They showed us that near miss in game 1 was not a fluke, Mini Miner.
Yeah, not at all. It's seeing them, we're seeing them go on height, we're seeing them winning fights, we're seeing them getting double-digit eliminations. There was a lot of hype about this duo going into this grand final, and I think we're seeing exactly why that's the case right now. We're seeing a duo that's confident. I think after last game, I was thinking, you know, they land sort of towards that south side of the map. Of course, as Takata mentioned, at Brawlers Battleground was the zone in their favor. They can make some really easy dead side rotations. This zone 11 completely on the opposite side of the map, and they're still popping off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we talked at the top of the show, right, about, you know, teams that people thought were going to win, right? Who were people predicting? If we had done a list of 6 instead of 5, these guys would have been on the list.
Yep.
So many people expected Vaniak and Swizzy to be doing well, and they are doing incredibly, incredibly well. And it's games like this that show exactly why they're a team that's going to dominate high. It doesn't matter the zone, right? The game we saw them qualify in semi-finals was a very tough zone for them, right? It doesn't matter where they got to travel to, they will make it there, and they will play for high, and they have a good chance of winning more games.
Levin, has Swizzy and Vaniak always been such a solid high ground team, or do you think it's something about the meta in this season?
Well, when you look at them as players, it lends both well to their style, right? Vaniak's always been a player, you know, in recent years that's been known for playing for height, right? Last season, when he played with Sinnet, they were like the one height team in EU, right? So Vaniak is familiar with height. Swizzy also familiar with it as well, playing in the past. So these guys are familiar with going up there, and they showed that in that game.
Minnie, one of the themes that we're seeing so far is the high ground is just not being dominated consistently throughout the end game by one duo. Crimson Noms, the backers, far back as Zone 10, they were trying to claim it, but as you saw the story go, they couldn't quite hang on to it. But does this show that they're a duo that could be challenging for that victory royale in future?
I mean, I think so. I think any team that can take height, it seems like there's a lot of them today that are really trying to go for it. Anyone's trying to go for it and trying to make something happen, which is something that we haven't seen throughout the whole season. We haven't seen like a height dominant team. We haven't seen one team that have just thought, right, we are the height team this season. As we say, Crimson Noms, of course, took height here. Really, really nice height take from these guys. A team that I think I have a lot of question marks about going into this grand finals. They split up ahead of the semi-finals, then got back together again, Levin. I was intrigued. How are the vibes going to be? How are they going to play? Are they going to play with that same freedom, that same confidence? And it seems like they're really taking it by storm right now in terms of their gameplay and in terms of their risk-taking as well. Yeah,
I think the benefit for them, funnily enough, has been being contested. Right, and we know how good they are off spawn at Lavish Lair, and so, you know, some of that early damage problems, you know, being sort of eradicated that way has probably helped them in terms of being able to make it deeper in these games.
Is this a really interesting leaderboard, guys? Because actually, it looks completely different to what I was expecting. I was expecting to see Seti and Cammy in the top 5, but maybe not until tomorrow, because historically in grand finals, they do tend to have a bit of a slow start. Meanwhile, the rest of the top 5 are these newer duos who are definitely challenging and changing hands with the old high ground 11. Are you surprised by this?
I'm not too surprised. I think the thing that impressed me the most is still seeing seeing Cammy so high up here because we saw Cammy as a solo so long in that game. And the guy just did not want to go down. I mean, it was ridiculous at a point, really. It's like, you're looking at him thinking, surely he doesn't just live, right?
I mean, me and you in the back were like, right, yeah, this is it. This is the end. You know, he's got no materials, he's got no HP, he's got no whites, but he just keeps plowing on and plowing on, just defying all expectations. What I find most impressive is that this isn't like, you know, SETI going down maybe at 7th or 8th zone. Scammy was a solo for the entire game. Of course, they had that earlier fight to sort out their Storm Surge, but this is a man that has absolutely no fear. And I said it in the back as well, this is the best lobby of the season, and he's running around making rotations as if it's just an open scrim session. It's absolutely incredible what he's able to do, and it shows that this is a team that we really have to look out for, because they should be higher up. I mean, if SETI was alive in that game, they could be on top right now.
I was really intrigued by the moment when we saw Cammy rotating past Thomas and Queasy, who were unsuspecting and just didn't peek until Cammy had gone past. And Levin, you were saying, how does Cammy do this? How does he rotate so cleanly, especially against the likes of Queasy and Thomas?
He does it all the time. It's like Minnie says, he's one of those guys where he just has no fear. Like, it's a genuine pattern that I've noticed for years with Cammy. Like, he just has no fear. He just always gets away with like the craziest rotates and movements where you're like, how is nobody looking at him? Like, it just doesn't even make sense. But that's just what makes him so great, I guess.
He's also
got that Polska Gorham energy. Yeah,
he's got that aura about him. He's just like, yeah. And even if you asked him after that game, it's like, oh, Cammy, that was a great solo clutch, mate. You're absolutely insane. He'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Should have been a duo. That's what you would have said.
Yeah, that's the way he be, and that's what he shows in the game. He's just got that arrogance. I love it.
Arrogance or quiet confidence. I'll let you guys be the judge on that one in chat. But talking of Camry, we've got to talk about Queasy Thomas, given that they did miss the chance to pick him off. But actually, they had a really solid start to that game, even if they didn't manage to make it to the final few 11.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are wondering how they're going to do being triple conned. They seem to be handling it all right. They didn't get taken down on height there, right, in a sort of unsuspecting way. So hopefully we can see them make amends in the next coming games.
Yeah, fingers crossed for those guys. It would be lovely to see Thomas win his first ever FNCS Grand Final, rather than losing one yet again by a single point. We're going to head to our caster Jacob and Carter to get to the halfway point of this evening's action. It's game number 3.
Thank you, Frankie. Look, almost halfway through the day, Jacob. But this isn't halfway through the grand finals. 6 matches to be played out today, 6 matches to be played out tomorrow for a total of 12. And I mean, you can tell it's a grand finals just by the way these lobbies are being played out.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of our superstars that you expected to really be the cream of the crop at the top of the leaderboard, really not having those games, but from one person's disaster to another person's blessing. We're having 2 big game victories by some people we may not have mentioned, others, Takata, you and I have mentioned. Let's see if that trend can continue, because the battle bus for game 3 is ready to go.
45 players are returning finalists from Major 1. Including 18 full duos. It's a stacked lobby. We have multiple duos contesting Grim Gate, the Underworld, Mount Olympus. We've had some difficult early games, Jacob, and we're getting right back into the action as Sky now has already been dropped to 36 HP, just 1 shot away from getting knocked. But will his mantling technique be his savior as he picks up a shotgun but is unable to connect?
Oh, that was just an exciting turn and burn situation. Hedra is just kind of able to come out alive. Scroll is just trying to go through unnoticed. Giving away his position, though, by popping that big pot. Better to be healthy and strong than anything else, though. They're just right above. There's another team landing over towards Snooty Steps, but I don't know how sure of them disrupting and distracting this fight for Scroll to try to stay alive is going to be.
Yeah, it's difficult, especially losing your teammates so early on. He's kind of just hiding until he can kind of get the initial engagement, but the issue is no shotgun. Knows his opponents have one.
Snooty Steps byla hrozně přetlaková lokace v minulý sezóně.
Yeah, I feel like this one's just kind of slowed down. Slowed down a lot, if anything.
Jsem docela rád, že teďka je Grimgate, protože Snooty,
no choice, especially with how well they have been playing so far. 96 points so far in this game. They are in 5th place. Going down here would be just a huge disaster, especially with them switching up their game plan, landing Reckless Railways, switching on over towards Snooty Steps, practicing with all the time that they had in this past week. just to go down early like that. I don't believe it at all. I do believe in Scroll. I have the confidence that he will get his teammate back.
Jako dost matra, jako přímo uvnitř.
I'll follow you on that. Let's check what happened to the underworld though. It's Cringe and Noms. Looks like we're able to get that initial shotgun alongside those quick eliminations. Even a little loot llama as a reward.
That's gonna help so much. They don't have to farm resources as much. You obviously get a couple more heals when it comes to the loot. And then you get those eliminations. I bet you they're welcoming any contest after that one. Easy Surge, easy loot. Queasy Thomas, though, over at Mount Olympus, you can see the longer this day goes, the less and less people staying around Mount Olympus causing chaos.
Mustáša Malibuga.
Looking back here, Grim Gate, Mustache Malibuka might be the Grim Reapers this time around. Looked like they're almost aggressing towards tripping for Doxy.
Zahráli hodně dobrou hru.
One elim has already been made by Malibuka. And it looks like they might just be able to clean up the Grim Gate here.
Čekám na to.
It's like they're increasingly getting better and better at the off-spawn fights in terms of being able to claim the loot for Grim Gates. It's just kind of what happens after, not really being able to utilize the loot to its highest and best potential. They're just kind of falling short there. As you see in the feed, Queasy just getting two. Destru and Pyro is getting taken out over towards Mount Olympus, while Silly 7-4 and just choose to disengage. It almost seems like two different mindsets going down. One team willing to get aggressive. The other team, they already got their 2 eliminations. They got what they came for in terms of Surge, and they're just ready to disengage on out. Get a great position that Levin and our analysts kind of broke down the Surge towers where they can get the best spot in order to get the most Surge possible.
Making use of the bush bombs as well when getting that surge. Cover yourself, so your opponents don't know exactly where you're taking shots from. You can see another quick cleanup here at Mount Olympus by Queasy and Thomas. They're doing a very good job of winning the early games this time around.
Je možný, že tyhle dva týmy začnou tradovat trošku pro ten
Storm. Are they even go for the medallion or not if they are fully uncontested? We've seen kind of decisions to go without some of these medallions, especially towards battlegrounds, kind of leaves you as like a walking tracker of some sorts where they can constantly see you. Effects isn't necessarily as good as some of the other medallions in the game. Teeny and Chap end up in another early game skirmish, and it does look like it's an early game skirmish for the Forecast Tower, where they've gotten it 2 out of 2 games so far.
You gotta be careful as the crack came through on Teeny. Just giving a little freedom for Asa and Marco.
Bude to, že zatím jim asi nikdo pro party nepůjde. Tým, který je v okolí, se fajtí taky navzájem. Tam je jeden tým, takže je dost získá šance, že možná jim i někdy půjde ten third party. A zatím to spíš vypadá, že půjde těm ostatním týmům. Takže týmy se můžou docela soustředit na to, aby dali co nejlepší fight. Ale vypadá to, že zatím docela dostávají. Marko.
Fight after fight to try to make that a possibility, as just Asa just put so much pressure from below. Not wanting to give them some free and easy movement as Marco just gets tagged up. Shields drop just like that. Huge flank coming in, but it is going to be a trade. A knock for damage, but Teeny's going to be dropped 1 for 1. And it is going to put him down into a 1v1 situation. And as I say that, he's able to not only get Marcos down, keep him alive, all while another spray is coming in. This could be a successful opportunity at a revive.
Great way of keeping Marco up, but Chap is not going to let that slide as he boxed himself up on the same layer now, looking to find an angle. But 2 nice shots. What a play from Asa. Both angles picked wisely.
Takhle zabít pro hráče, že z něj uděláš, že vypadá jak úplný bot.
It's going to be a big win for them. But if they want the Forecast Tower, it doesn't stop there. One side of the map, Faint God, Splash, Dexy, and Eclipse. Almost all day long, these 2 teams are battling it out over towards Rebel's Roost. And the surrounding kind of splits. And they have to be careful, though, as they're trying to disengage down this area. There is another team on that island, in which it does look like they're trying to go in that direction. So they have to be careful, because now they give it up high ground and they're surrounded by 2 teams.
Jako to DMRko je hodně třeba teďka tuhle sezonu na Storm Surge. Asi je nejlepší, když jeden má SMGčko, aby mohl sprayovat ty týmy, ten druhý, aby mohl rozdávat damage. Nebo rovnou oba jde Ameriko, je to takový riskantní potom na fighting na close. Ale takže když se dost chytří, jak nemusíte fightit na close, když nechcete.
Forecast tower also has been secured, so they do know where these upcoming zones are going to be closing.
Jestli bych hodil 2 splashe.
The best so far, but still plenty of games left to go. So you kind of pick up that pace in the moment's notice. Walks and Pixie just trying to take down Splash and Feint.
Bohužel byl
So
úspěšný
far in this game, and it does look like they're going to be able to barely and narrowly escape just over that mountain. And kind of gives Dexy and Eclipse another team that was following them an option of which team they want to go for. Do you want to travel towards zone? You see them in the minimap beginning to disengage all the same. Splash and just kind of a little miracle happened while not getting targeted and chased around the map like we've seen so many other teams and players do before.
Na to, jak dobře se mu dařilo v Kiškapech, a solo Victory Cupech.
Continuing their aggression from the already 2 eliminations they have out at the start.
Je možný, že to je, já nevím, jestli to není Marius první jako ofensiva svojíc, ale asi ne.
Having a flashback to game 1. They are not looking healthy, low on shield. I wonder if that's just a temporary thing. Yeah, there it is. Okay. They're more than healthy enough. They just had to recuperate it.
With how active this team and like kind of how dominant this team has been, you even see the quick stat there. I'm just more surprised about how low amount of damage they've actually been able to do as a full duo so far. They have about under 1,500 total damage as a team, which is something you wouldn't necessarily expect from a contested drop with the notoriety that is around Marius and what he's able to do in a lot of situations. So I want to see them kind of pick up the pace here one way or another to close out the day and really start off on day 2 tomorrow.
Pixie walks, making good use of those shield fishes to instantly recuperate what they have lost in this engagement. As Fant Splash though, not looking healthy at all. Walks is just 1 pick of zone away as the knock has came through by Pixie. 2v1 now, player advantage. Just 1 more shot needed, and just like that, it's been closed off. Pixie getting the job done.
Have to be careful though. Dexy and Eclipse still on that mountain range. I said they had the flexibility, the options, and they chose to just kind of stagger themselves. Wait for a lot of these fights to break out. Once you start to hear the noise, once you start to feed, get active, that's when you're going to try to go. You get that green light. We have to be careful. Wox is positioned above. Pixie is down below. You don't want to sandwich yourself and put yourself in a bad spot, and that's why you see Dexy overbuilding to try to get himself into a better spot than he was just seconds ago. Eclipse is ready to start the fight down below, and you see them slowly but surely falling down the side of the mountain, separated, isolated away from everybody else in the lobby.
Wox Pixie though, recuperating that shield and HP that they had lost. Now, both players looking healthy. The duos don't know exactly though how tagged Wox and Pixie are. They know they just got out of an engagement and they're trying to decide, are they low on loot, are they low on mats? Little do they know, 3 chug spatches to spare. So this engagement will take a long time to finish if they continue playing aggressive like this.
Looking in the minimap right now again. Takata, the minimap has so much information. That third-party team rotating nearby, they hear the noise, and you kind of see their arrows turning around in all directions. Is something we want to go after? Is it not something we want to go after? You see Dexy and Eclipse fully focused on that team that's right below him. Not a single one of these 2 players, or even all 4 of them, has had a chance to really look up and assess the situation. And as soon as I say it, you see them try to disengage on out, and that is the signal. They started to get tagged up into the distance, and now they know it's safe from the position in which they're at.
Cringe. Mountains now. Made their way over to the bunker here where Skavi and Haris are at. Will they kind of trap them in there though? Or will they kind of just take some shots and then let them be?
Cringe proti Kosmovi.
Tough situations. You got Crimson Nonge who are trying to fight for this bunker, make their way down, and then you got that team Hriskin's Fee who are just kind of bunkered, hunkered down. They really have nowhere to go, and luckily for them though, the zone is in their favor.
Underworldu ještě jsou ještě 3 týmy.
Not only that, them already having 2 eliminations also means that they've done a good bit of damage just to get here. So even when Storm Surge does start ticking, they should not be in much of a worry.
Jestli to není už vyfajtění, což tam není moc vidět, tak to asi možná tuhle hru ani nedofajtí.
From both duos.
Yeah, it just kind of worries me as you see those other teams towards the underworld, even though they're kind of busy right now, looting up the scraps, farming up as much as they need. As soon as they want, literally at a moment's notice, and you combine the fact that there's underworld dashes, they can close the gap in an instant. And even if they're not going to try to disrupt the fight as a 2v2, they can kind of wait around the side and try to third party as soon as somebody tries to disengage.
As the clock ticks, the emotes come through. Skivvy here is saying, we're not going to move. You can stay there as long as you like. As Axe Force and Clownski have a different idea in mind.
Nemá žádný medkit, takže bude muset udělat play. Takže s tím má křídla.
Yeah, I thought I saw it in the feed. Actually confirmed it was Axe Force. Was able to get that elimination and clean up onto him.
S tím, kolik lidí tuhle sezónu hraje DMRka a sniperky, tak s málo matrem je skoro nemožný se dostat do zóny.
He could get the reboot back. So they have a whole plethora of other worries, but he actually doesn't have any heals, so there's only so long he can stay in the zone, and even though he does have the wings, he can't necessarily use it right now going up that hill and up that mountain, because it just makes him an easy target to get taken down.
160 matra. Myslím si, že i když se dostane do zóny, tak nebude mít matro na to, aby něco zahrál.
Even Yanis or Flixie could just take one shot from where they're at, and if it connects, Pink is gone. But it looks like he is gonna make it towards the reboot van. Try and bring Vico back into the game, but
ale tak vypadá zatím, že to resne, protože žádný tým není v okolí.
Eliminations, but if a duo is going to be able to do it, I mean, it's going to be Pink and Vico if they can get healed back up.
Yeah, and luckily they are kind of right next to a POI, a big one at that. An uncontested one from Yanis and Flixie, so there could be a lot of loot left over.
So
that actually they can utilize
and Island na to, že tam není tuhle sezónu, se docela dost fajtí. Většina podle mě se tam snaží jenom refarmnout matro.
And you can see not only this high up on the mountains, they can use the launch pad, the Flowberry Fizz, they have the wings in their inventory, which you're seeing a lot of players popularize here today to kind of use for rotation. And it's not the normal way, Takada. They're not flying through the sky looking like an eagle. They're making short bursts from one spot to the next to make the rotation that much easier.
Incredibly popular so far today, like you've mentioned. Seeing a lot more than in previous tournaments here. Just like we saw, Vico has been brought back in the game with no heals, before they start taking fights.
Šanci se pořádně nalutit, že Pink je furt na 15 životech.
It's not like they have a lot of time to work with.
I got a question, and this just might be thinking outside of the box. Never mind, he's already down. Well, that question's out the window by Pink. He gets knocked. I think there's a chance for Vico to try to save him, depending on who actually got the credit for that knock. That was Kiro, so far into the distance, and I was going to say if he wanted to give himself just a little bit of a push, some fall damage, gets revived, he would have more HP in theory, but it's a little bit of a moot point now. So Vico, even though he's gotten one reboot already, he got the card and has to get ready for another one.
Yeah, it's a tough situation all around to be in. We can take a look at
Když už konečně vypadá, že se mezi tím, co tady byla kamera na Zero, tak konečně se dostávají trošku dál do bunkru. O kousek to vyfajtili, málem dostali 1v2. Kami sety jsou naživu, daleko v zóně. Toho bude zajímavá hra pro Kamiho a Sety, protože jsou oba naživu a vypadá, že mají i docela dost dobrý loot.
Just like what Cammy was able to do.
Jestli se jim něco, jestli nedostanou laser v letu, nebo neumřou nějak zbytečně, myslím si, že to bude dobrý. Bleskil, jim bleskuje. Grimgay, tak to je super, Vico už po druhý resnul, Vico a Pink už se po druhý resli v tady té malé lokaci.
Sniper rifle in hand. All it takes is one headshot.
Jsou 280 stran bylo. Musí dát nějaký hity teďka, jinak jsou mrtví. Já mám takový pocit, že s tím, že je camping tým ze zóny, tak jsou mrtví, takže tak jsou na tom hodně bídně.
To my surprise, 283 is actually how much below they are. So a headshot sniper rifle is just going to be the start of what they need.
Jinak jsou mrtví. Už by ani headshot nepovedl.
They're walking up into the distance, but for how long it's actually going to take to get there, it might be more than just a sniper rifle. Might have to go for an full-on battle, and with no heals, they have no shields, no builds, no resources. It's just a nightmare of a spot for Pink and Vico to be in, but I feel like if anybody's up for a challenge, it could be them. And the biggest thing is they need to figure out a way to start the fight with damage, but it does look like Vico gets taken down. Frizzy and Howley find him slipping behind enemy lines, and Pink really has no choice but to go in, and he meets that same fate. He goes down altogether, but it's Scrap to actually get the loot taken for themselves, even though they didn't get the elimination.
Great pickup. We can see how Swizzy is able to do it. Nice little drop down dash. Almost piece controlled him with the dash there. No builds required. Just predicted where he was going to jump out. And even though they got that elim, still 114 below. Forced to continue looking for shots, as Mustache Malabuka might just be the closest duo. But they have just found that solo that was cracked. Swizzy, though, gets his elim stolen. As the clock keeps ticking, 52 below. Damage keeps striking. They're going to be forced to drop on Mustache and Malabuka, but that's not a duo you want to face against.
And that was a very, very risky shot. You see, Vaniac with just a sliver of HP. Swizzy now getting ticked down, and they do not have a chance to feel comfortable with the Storm Surge. They get a moment where they're above, and they immediately go below. They take some damage. Luckily, they had more than enough heal to try to out-heal their current situation with 16 above. They are on the hunt yet again. Vaniac leading the charge. Swizzy close behind, and there are so many teams they can target out as soon as they make their way here.
Shots being made, but nothing connecting. Just 31 above now. One shot from the DMR could be all they need here, but they get cracked. And Vaniac gets dropped. Swizzy now, from taking home the VR in the last match to being left as a solo.
There. Don't even know if Marco's still alive, and he's able to kind of find anything he gets his hands on. Swizzy knows that he cannot get the reboot, cannot get his teammate back. Quickly repositions himself a little bit down the mountain. In a much safer spot where less and less people can try to target him. He looks on, sees the team there, tries to target him, but that's Veno and Tayson who might try to take advantage of a lot of that damage. But it's Swizzy who actually gets the knock. Credit for that one as well. Quickly swipes up the body. He knows he needs as much loot as he can get his hands on as he's a solo.
Full matro.
I mean, if we saw anything from Cammy in the last match, 44 points as a solo. I'm hoping to see Swizzy can do something similar here.
Vino a Tyson na tom vypadají docela dobře, až na tu zónu, kde jsou. Cammy a Sety nemají bílý hápka.
Unfortunate positions. Seti and Cammy now have a huge strength in numbers. You can kind of see their position as they climb up the leaderboard, currently positioned 4th place. Can't say no one would have predicted it, because I think 11 kind of shouted it out along with Reesub. It's been the Cammy curse, but I mean, if they can get top 5 in this major, is that more of a curse or is that a Cammy blessing?
I mean, consistent tops and grand finals. You can't really complain.
Reason to style.
They want to take home that Axe of Champions.
Jak jinak, kdo by to čekal, když všichni berou Amerika nebo sniperky. To je hrozný, hej. To je horší jak ARK. Měli prostě nechat ARK u ARK ty... To aby byly instantně ty shoty prostě, aby se jinak nikdy nestalo, a když už tak v mnohem menší variantě. Když jako nejsem odborník, ale myslím si, že je lepší, když dostaneš třeba 2 hity od ARK, můžeš rychle postavit, než když dostaneš několik hitů od DMRka, protože ARK nikdo nebere. Že to ani není úplně zábava proti tomu.
Zone does close, and that 8th zone is going to pull towards one of the edges appears. Some know it from the forecast tower, some don't. Veno, though, quick little points, just racked up as he continues to jump on into the zone. Hazen already made his way in. Now they have the kind of little box, so a bit of safety, but you got to be careful, as they might just be pickaxing right towards a duo.
Oh, they're ready to fight. One of the most aggressive teams in all of the land. It's just an unfortunate spot that it just kind of crunched down on the side of the mountain. Really not able to kind of move around in that box as freely as they would hope. Cammy and Seti once again find a way to get front side of the zone where nobody's really currently at, which gives them priority position over everybody else in the lobby, especially those that are so far back that have that max pull. And now you can see as time and seconds pass, others are inching closer and closer in that direction, but Seti and Cammy, they're the ones that are on top.
Let's see how they play it here. They're low on
Se to vypadá, že hraje
HP, being ahead of zone. It's a perfect place to be. Thomas HD Queasy, they had such a strong start to the game in the previous match, but as soon as they tried to hold height, even with almost full materials and a solid loadout, they went down in 2 seconds. So I know that can be difficult mentally, but hopefully with 4 elims on the board already, they can come back strong now in this third match.
Vypadá to, že furt nemá bílý, takže musí rotatit hodně předem, jestli chce staklej v zóně. Nádherný rotate.
Kind of use in just a quick couple of seconds to try to out heal what Tayson kind of has left in terms of overall HP and shield. That's why Veno is just going on the attack. And what a monster shot going to be landed onto Malibuka. That alleviates a ton of pressure. And you see now that he's able to get the green light to go. Veno, Tayson reunite in the same box. And they're ready for this next rotation.
Job's not done though, neither for Cammy and Seti as they
ne,
are
myslím, mají na to úplně matro. Potřebují podle mě jeden refresh a pak na ten high naprosto věřím. Nebo být 22 above, oni možná nešli pro high, možná šli pro damage. Dával by to smysl, že jo?
4 seconds left till zone starts closing and more opportunities arise to get shots.
Tyson dostal.
Tyson's gonna get dropped though. A challenge that I think Veno is ready and willing to take.
Vino může dát nádherný clutch.
Easy, very little contestation on this side of the zone as it continues to move forward. But he gets targeted out. Team staggering themselves behind for a perfect couple of shots like this. Veno still above the damage threshold. Very little to worry about other than make it from point A to point B safely.
Precise and easy.
Malibuka Mustache mají dobrý zónu.
Hold on to it. Nice little ring rotation to get ahead of zone. Great way to conserve their materials. Is Swizzy now 136 above. He has lost Banyak. We talked about it earlier. Clutching it up as a solo. There's potential for it.
99 above the damage threshold.
Záleží na tom, jak daleko se dostane. Myslím, že by potřeboval aspoň top 10 na to, aby se udržel.
Still have more points and distance to cover before he's done just yet as Robon gets targeted backside his own. Cam, you said they get credit for that knock. Soon to get credit for that elimination, but you can look at their damage. Still only 11 above the threshold and quickly falling below. So their job is not done just yet. Taking the first tick of that storm down to just 42 HP. Cammy needs to figure out a way to get damage. Seti gets dropped. One more tick is all he can take, and he finally gets the fizz in time. 2 HP, the dream, trying to stay alive. He cannot take any more damage or else he will go down, but luckily for him, Storm Surge turns off just in the nick of time.
Has the blessing to just save Cammy. Once
kill?
again, forced as a solo, 76, isn't enough, it's not reason with too much HP, 180 turns around, gets the E-Lim now, 4 on the board as he continues to stay up. Vadil has gone down, so many solos, almost looking like a solo FNCS, Jacob.
Swizzy is going to be included, but he's almost looking strong, almost looking like a full duo with the way he's playing. Doesn't really have time to pop the Flowberry Fizz just yet. Mustache joins the crew of solos in this game. There's only a few really left alive as a solo. Mustache is going to be one less that anybody has to worry about.
Swizzy continuing now. I believe he was the first solo we saw from any of the people that just went down, and also the last one standing so far. As he makes his way once again ahead of zone. The issue is though, only 6 more builds. Flowberry is about to be fully used up now. No more shields. Only has the rings for mobility, and not a lot of materials. Reason though, actually still up.
And he's able to find a late elimination on a Trulex. Probably leaving him back to zone. Can't get the loot. And now he's getting pushed further and further out himself. He finally goes down. Thomas runs out of time as well. Swizzy has no chance. And this is where things become tough with everybody falling and dropping like flies. Only one team can come out on top.
Kira and Moppy close to high ground. Is it on their mind? Is it what they're looking to claim? As Cringe and Noms on the opposite, looking to drop closer to the midsection of the late game here, looking to see where the players are. Do they know that Dex is in that cone? Is it a potential elimination that they can find here? Looks for the shot, connects, as Noms is going to be able to pick it up.
That was a huge find. They were peeking through the builds to make that one a possibility. Peekaboo, I see you. Ticho gets found out as well. 8 eliminations so far. And even though we saw Thomas go down, we know what Queasy is capable of. 6 out of 12 games last year in Major 2. Might be a different duo, but he's hoping for the same result.
Just 6 duos left. The turnaround onto Kiro. Can Queasy clean it up? You gotta be careful though, it's a full-on duo down below. Hits the initial shot, but now is gonna go down to zone. Elvis continue to take shots. The Buell on the low, but he's left alone. The duo goes in.
to na top 2.
They were trying to be the first ones to win 2 different games in the EU FNCS, but with them out and a lot of the other teams as well, it's going to come down to one. Snazy comes crashing down from above. Cringe with a nice shot, but his teammate Podesai is there with another crash landing to steal away the game.
What a way to close it out from the skies. Explosion on the builds down below. Shotgun shot after shotgun shot. Podesai with the cleanup.
That was just an electric ending to end that game. I don't know how many other players, how many other teams, how many other Fortnite individuals you would have ever seen not only use the Wings of Icarus, but use it to smash down on their opponents in the final moments of the game to win it all. Because even if they didn't get the elimination, they would have bounced them back into the storm to where they eventually have went down. This was just a magnificent play to end the game.
I had to pinch myself for a second when I was looking at Podesai and Snazy. I see them both take out the Wings of Icarus, and I'm like, wait a minute. Are they about to charge down? Are they about to crash from above onto the low ground? It's exactly what they did. Snazy got 1 pump, but we don't talk about that because Podesai cleaned it up and got that VR. So let's head on over to the desk to break it down.
Thank you very much. Now, normally when we see someone crashing with some Icarus rings on, it's because they flew too close to the sun. But in the case of Snazy and Podesai, they knew exactly the moment to make that dive for the victory royale mini miner.
Yeah, this is the first game, I think, all day that we've seen a team just completely dominate height throughout the entire endgame. From I think 9th zone, these guys held it from, and it was just a perfectly played height game. We saw them, of course, with these wings. They rotated to the front side, then ensured that they could claim it from there. They saved so many materials by doing that, and it seems like 11, this is kind of the meta, this is kind of the way that teams are playing right now with these wings. They're using it to save so many materials and make those rotations so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, we've not seen people use them much throughout the season, right? But obviously with the Hades being taken out recently this week, you know, the spawn rate was buffed for those mythic chests, and I think in general people are just thinking we need solutions on how to play these end games and you know, have some sort of movement.
A Malibuga Mustache 29. Hodně tier 1 pro hráčů, hodně vzadu, nebo jako na docela špatných místech.
Cool, calm, collected, bang, you win your game. I mean, it was clean. Hashtag M8 win, Ale Le Bleu, all the rest, you know, whatever you gotta say, but big up to Podesai and Snazy for that one. That was a really cool
dobrý placement, man.
The mates are pink, aren't they? They're roses.
Yeah.
It's all right. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll teach you some French later on. We'll go through all the French orgs, and you can lap up all the extra follows you get on your socials. Levin. Let's talk about Queasy and Thomas. It's always lovely to see Queasy just showing how well he knows how to survive in the high ground, Levin.
I mean, again, I'm reiterating this from before. Not many people expected to see them be such a presence, with them, you know, being contested or spawn with Mount Olympus and just how their season's gone in general. But they've impressed, Minnie. Like, they have really looked good throughout these games.
Yeah, they have, and I think it's fair that we give them the hype because they are, of course, a team that has got this grand finals experience. They both know how to play in these circumstances. We saw them trying to take height in the last game, didn't quite work out, and of course, Queasy was there at the end, couldn't quite squeeze out a couple more placement points, but it was a solid game from these guys, and I think they're overachieving right now compared to what so many people would have thought. I think a lot of people kind of wrote this team off heading into this grand finals, but now sat in 7th, this is a really nice, solid groundwork for them to just bounce off, you know, for the next sort of 9 games.
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, obviously Jacob, I think, mentioned how, you know, this time last year Major 2, Queasy and Venom were winning, you know, 6 out of this whole game.
A difficult mid-game. It's unusual to see them struggling for Surge tags mini miner, but unfortunately that just ended their journey early in Game 3.
Yeah, really rough for this duo. I think they had a little bit of a task to do when it came into this grand final weekend because, of course, the Chains of Hades got removed ahead of grand finals. That was a huge loss for this duo because they use those to fish. They use those to speed up their loot path to get all those extra heals, and then all those heals that they could use in the fights to when they're going around and trying to W key different teams here, there, and everywhere, just to replenish those heals and even just save some in the fishing area. So I think that's a big mark for this duo that has just marked them down a little bit.
Meanwhile, though, Cringe and Noms, they are looking like one of the best off-spawn teams, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, they've been very impressive off spawn at Lavish Lair. Last season, you know, a lot of people expected them to beat Queasy and Thomas off spawn more often than not. And this season, they've been very impressive off spawn when needed. And today, they have been phenomenal playing against Cringe and Jake Buka. And I mean, you know, that early surge is clearly helping them in terms of consistently getting to these end games. And they're strutting their stuff in these end games, man. I know, Minnie, you mentioned earlier, you know, the concerns you had, obviously, the vibes were a bit cooked after they tried to split up with each other earlier this season. Doesn't seem to be affecting that today.
They don't seem to be playing like a duo that have had that bumpy road in terms of chemistry and togetherness this season at all. And I know at the beginning of the show, Frankie, you mentioned, or you asked me, what's the best off-spawn team? I hadn't seen too much from these guys off-spawn this season, but now, from what we're seeing today, and of course last season even as well, this is a duo that definitely are that team right now when it comes to off-spawn because they are dominating.
I really hope we can get an interview with these guys, or at least one of them. I just want to know what's happened. What has turned them into this dream team, given that they thought that the other was their nightmare? And now they've realized that actually they are definitely stronger together, because it could have been so different, you know, if any of the other duos who had qualified for semis had wanted to go with another duo, we would have seen something incredibly different happening. Is this unprecedented, this performance, Levin, for a duo that did want to go their separate ways?
Já nevím, jako...
No.
Trochu na nic, že já vůbec nic neříkám k tomu, když tady kecají, jo, ale
top
tak co mám k tomu
teams
říkat.
like don't want to play with each other
Jsem hrozně
sometimes, right?
ukecaný.
Like historically, there's been teams who have, you know, not wanted to play with each other and they've gone on to win FNCSs. There's been examples of that. So, you know, it isn't unprecedented by any means, I'd say.
Tam dám nějaký jednavej, než dokecají.
So many professional relationships in Fortnite, unlike the one I have with you guys on the desk. We're going to head over to our casters, though, guys, because it's time for game number 4.
I'm a little worried. It's game number 4 already. That means these games are flying by quick. Takada, I just got one question for you and everybody at home. Are you not entertained by these matches that we've seen so far?
Look, we've seen things that I've never seen in competitions at this level, right? Double wings of Icarus in the last 2v2 of the game. Like, what are we watching right now, Jacob?
Yeah, I thought that being able to see the rotations was enough, but game number 4 is gassed up and ready to go. Takada, let's get into it.
Doufám, že to vyhraje nějaký solo clutch, to by bylo super.
3 games down.
Solo clutch.
Now on to the 4th. There's been non-stop action in these early games. Some players even choosing to switch up their game plan a little bit. But what we're going to take a look at, it's down below in the underworld. 3 teams originally contesting this drop spot. But it looks like now it might just be 2.
Když to má lepší FOVčko a hůř se to trefuje.
I think this might be like a blessing in disguise for Crimson Noms because they're able to get some early surge, and even if they don't necessarily take this duo out right away, they have options of what to do afterwards. So even though I expect this to be something that's fought out unless the other team disengages, I expect, you know, Cringe and Noms, as soon as they get the loadout they want, to try to push that team out of what is their POI Lavish Lair.
Thomas a Queasy.
Mountain Olympus. It looks like Thomas HD and Queasy were originally going straight into the engagement with Doom and Ice, but now almost a little switch up on where these duos have been dropping within Mount Olympus. It's actually going to be the Ice that's going to take out Vestru here. Doom has been dropped down, so now it's just a 1 versus 1. It's just a waiting game for Thomas HD and Queasy to come up and clean it up.
Yeah, they just get so much flexibility because of those teams not only just fighting it out, but fighting it out as early as they are. Because while all it happens, Queasy Thomas is just looting up, getting the perfect loadout, and just getting the final elimination. And once again, it looks like virtually uncontested Mount Olympus for themselves. There might be one team on top of that mountain looking down from above, but they're not really getting enough information. A lot of that will have came from the feed.
Looking at Sky Scroll, though, their journey ended quickly in the last match, but now they're looking a lot more healthy. Shots through the window, no connection with the shotgun, though. It's actually going to be on the Sky. It's dropped down to 70 shield, but they have the upper hand in terms of positioning here. Hopefully Scroll, though, can find an angle.
Několik tier 1 pro hráčů.
Need to really make up for that last game where they didn't necessarily have the performance that they wanted, but 3 teams moving over. You got Toos and Karmi as well, disrupting this fight from a distance. You can see some of that damage landing on Sky because of it. Kind of forcing these 2 teams into extractions lower than where they're currently positioned. Even Sky and Scroll are separated from each other. But with no like current engagements going on, you can see in the minimap, nobody's just trying to rush one another and clean up a lot of that damage. This fight will and does tend to slow down just a little bit.
Strokey Raban.
Going
head to head here. Kelba and Goba. As now, looks like they do have the upper hand in this fight. Cracks continue to come on through.
Oh, bitch.
Nothing yet to convince Strokey and Raban to go fully in.
Dobrý heal. Sežere určitě. Že jo, sežere houbičky.
80 damage just like that. Continues to back up Strokey. Not going to scare him too much though. He's ready to pop some shots. Fire back at his opponents. We're not make him look like a pushover. And you can see because of that, him and Roban have been able to get 2 different angles that they can now attack from, which some it's a blessing, but all it takes is that 1 second of separation for them to target out either Roban or Strokey to turn this into a 2v1 situation. There's just so much pressure coming from all around. Strokey not necessarily getting the upper hand in that fight and kind of forced to heal up, back up just a little bit, and that third party gave him so much time to come in and disrupt this fight. And now the decisions have to be made. Do you continue on? Do you disengage? And I do think they're going to pick the latter.
You can see how quickly that decision came through, though. You said it on your mind already. What's the play? And they already decided we're disengaging. They started walking away. They got a bit of damage already, and to be honest, it's all they really needed.
Not too surprised. Pleasant Piazza was pretty crowded in that last game, and like I said, I think Cringe and Noms, I think that major one battle against Queasy and Thomas was a huge learning experience.
Marius změnil drop
up that POI,
na leviš.
Take it as their own, but I thought I saw Marius in the distance, slowly but surely moving over. Sangild as well. A long journey away from the underworld where they originally start. But sometimes with how they've been doing so far in this game, 60 points, they're behind their own goal, not necessarily ours. So they probably realize they need to shake things up just a little bit if they want to get back on track.
Doufám, že Marius musí dát aspoň tuhle hru, aspoň jeden. Jinak tenhle den skončil.
They can't take too many risks
here.
Alongside those 2 eliminations they already have and the decent loadout, they're going to choose to start working more on their mid game here and rotating.
Je docela vtipný, že začali pushovat tým, který je momentálně první.
When it has come to Storm Surge, Trap has about 1700 damage. Our Cringe has 1700 damage by himself. Noms has about 1400, so they are doing just enough when it comes to that Storm Surge to constantly keep themselves above the threshold, not worrying about taking damage, so that way they can primarily focus on their positioning to reach every one of these mid games.
Okay, to je pro ně hodně dobrý. Jakmile máte tenhle medailon, tak šance na výhru se zvýší třeba o 20%. Čistě pro vás.
One of them, Pixie and Walks, like being involved in, but you can see the danger
Pixie
that can come from it.
Jsou
If you look at
docela
the minimap
špatný
at the bottom right,
situace.
another 2 duos about to be in their own fight potentially. So either team that takes those initial shots could quickly get third-partied, which is maybe why Walks and Pixie here have just decided, you know, we should just get out of here. Zone's going to start closing. We do not want to be on the edge.
Janis.
He's got to be careful, because even though that side of the map is opened up,
další dva
if the zone does
hned
pull away, that will
jeden
put him
disengage,
on
vypadá
the
to, že
congested
autem.
side of the zone as we finally tune on board Janis and Flixie. Not as uncontested as a drop as we thought we were going to see to start the day. You see multiple teams, including CZB and Nathan, moving in over towards direct squareways, stealing away the loot.
Snaží se
And that's what happens when you're a little slow to get out of your POI, trying to loot just a little bit too much. Sky and Scroll looking like they're trying to have a little bit of a sneaky play, make up, boxes his opponent. First shot to land on the other one as well. Both of them are being put to just low HP, but Scroll looks like he's just by himself. I don't know where Sky is at. He finally joins the mix, but at the perfect time, both of his opponents were dropped to just very little HP, and he's just firing shot after shot after shot until he's finally able to pick up a knock on at least one of the 2 players so far.
Kira caught running, didn't even have a chance to turn around as Sky picked up the elim. I think they're even going to be happy with that. They could chase the solo, but it's not worth it at this point. As now they're going to comfortably, with that bit amount of damage, just continue with their match. Video reason.
Se určitě nevyplatí
Swizzy and
pušovat.
Vanya, 2 Titanic duos going
Svízy Tým, který je momentálně druhý, velkou část hry byl první. Čuje Reasona a Vejva, teda
They have consistency underneath their belt, and even though this is just 6 games through day 1 and they got 6 more tomorrow, you want to give yourself as much of a cushion over the rest of the pack as possible.
Když se refarmil trochu Matra. S Matrem je na tom actually docela v pohodě svízy. Ale že snaží se vždycky v Grand Finals mít co nejvíc, každý Matro může zachránit život.
Take a look though at Sky and Scroll, what they were able to do here.
Docela dobrý pressure od Sky.
First shot and just the pressure is just too much. And that's what happens when you have a lot of that piece control. You can take shortcuts while your opponent is trying to escape, and then you kind of have them blocked off on one wall, boxed in your box, really no exits. It's kind of what you expect from Sky and Scroll.
Mid-fight.
Teeny Chap. Huge start to game 1. I'd love to see them play once again for that height, if they can make it there. But as the bunker battle continues, these can take a lot of time to conclude.
A lot of hype surrounding this team. And it's the early games you can kind of see a lot of their potential, a lot of their shines of greatness. It's just the end game or lack of opportunity to play some of these end games out is where they begin to fall short. A little bit of a cheeky opportunity there, trying to go for a snipe shot. Voco Vortexers continuously trying to gain the pieces back, and they're willing to trap themselves in this bunker to make sure that they get the loot. You see the zone is going to be all around them, so they have more than enough time to wait out Chap team.
Let's continue to come on through.
Tyhle dva týmy,
tak pokud týmy to get out of that bunker. And this might just be
je jasný, že
a similar scenario.
Že co jiného.
Jsou teďka s takovým
Tomas a Kvíze se snaží nabrat co nejvíc storm damage,
If you have the luxury to wait in there, you have to kind of build one of these towers like you see Queasy and Thomas in order to get your own damage. Not too far off where they start towards Mount Olympus. Definitely have kind of handled a lot of the struggles that they had up until this point. They just need to be able to push themselves over the top, played to that full potential. 140 points, great spot on the leaderboard where they're currently at. But you know Thomas, you know Queasy, never have these guys placed outside of the top 10 in an FNCS.
I know, I'm getting good feelings with Thomas and Queasy. They haven't completely popped off yet, but they're getting closer and closer, Jacob. And the good news is with 2 days of competition, 6 more matches to be played out tomorrow. 3 more today, including this one. I think this could be one of the duos that potentially will take home that Axe of Champions.
Hey, they got as good a shot as any. And the way Mount Olympus has been playing out so far here today, it's playing out perfectly in their favor. And a battle I felt like we kind of talked about, we mentioned it just a little bit, Pink and Vico, Yanis and Flixie, the possibility of them two engaging is actually real, especially with not too many opportunities for Yanis and Flixie to get the Storm Surge to start out on Reckless Redways. This is something that we saw very, very similar in Major 1. They rotated over towards this forecast tower, and coincidentally enough, it was against Pink and Vico where they tried to get as much Surge as possible.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. The potential of that back and forth hasn't been happening too much today.
Proti ním snaží zmizet dál do zóny. Jako asi dobrý play, ale budou mít teďka hodně těžké, aby se vrátili zpátky. Teď a Vico mají dobrý shieldy, ale podle inventáře Vico. Trappinga tak moc
nevypadá. You see they're
nevypadá.
so far away from their original landing spot of Lavish Lair. So they went hunting for good positioning and they ran into Cheeps and Turtle, who didn't have to go far from the original drop spot of the Underworld.
Glitcha Aim se snaží získat
Turtle, one of the teams that has pulled out at least one VR throughout the qualification process of the semifinals, proving that they have the blueprint down pat, especially when it comes to those set lobbies. But now when you're playing against the best of the best, all stacked in one lobby, this is where you get put to the test.
Svízy a Vaňák kolem sebe nemají momentálně moc týmu, takže je možný, že nebudou mít dost Storm Surge. Svízy nemá nic na dálku, nemá DMR-ko, což je docela vzácný.
So it looks like they're kind of planning where they're going to take this launch pad to.
No matter where the zone pulls, they have the inventory to get max height on that launch pad. Combine the wings of Icarus, you combine the Flowberry Fizz, you launch off that launch pad, and you kind of get your pick of the litter of literally exactly where you want to land. And if the zone does pull in this direction, I think that will be a huge blessing for these guys to be able to maintain that position high up on the mountain with an escape plan right behind them.
100%. Pixie walks, though, in between, what, 3-4 different duos? Maybe even more? As some of them start to disengage here at the underworld, but the good news is they're making use of their time here, refarming their break. Almost have
taková šance, že dostanete third party, vypadá to, že 2 týmy mezí pryč.
We'll see where this zone does pull, but
minimálně jeden.
So far it looks like nobody in this area wants to
Kvízy a Thomas se drží stále v zóně.
He's not just yet. Probably just a little too early in some scenarios.
So mají docela dobrý
Queasy and Thomas kind of back to where I didn't expect them to be with how well they've been playing so far. I thought they would kind of minimize the amount of time they're staying in zone for as long as they are, especially since it's the finals. We've already had at least one heal off so far. But with 349 damage above the Storm Surge threshold, they do have the luxury to maintain their position in the Storm. They have the Flowberries, they have the Legendary Bananas, so it won't be long before we see them outside of the zone and even possibly having to rotate to the next.
Trash se zbavili high groundu. Zajímavý play. Nevím, jestli bych to úplně udělal, aspoň bych počkal na to, kam vyjde zóna. Jako, asi se trošku báli, že dostanou fourth party, ale i tak bych počkal aspoň, než vyjde zóna, protože je možný, že mají forecast.
Goes back to 83, but
ale že ho potřebují damage, takže
they just got 18 seconds until Storm Surge will start ticking, so they really gotta do something soon. And look at that, Jacob, the combo with the wings of Icarus once again, getting a huge amount of damage, but it's not enough.
Yeah, really catching a lot of players off guard in this finals. It's just not something you've scrimmed against, not something you practice against. You even got the Thunderbolt of Zeus coming in from different directions, forcing Trash and Zohan to just not get the Storm Surge that they wanted, and now they're falling further and further below that damage threshold. Even though they do have their eyes on the Cheeps and Turtles, they're not really going to get the opportunity. Zohan's finally going to get knocked by Cringe, who now re-enters into the mix. Him and Noms are able to clean up that elimination fully, get the loot. Even though they're pressured momentarily, they have very little to worry about. Now that they got a huge refresh, they get the materials, and they're 550 damage above the Surge threshold.
Trash not only getting ticked by zone, getting pushed as well by Cheap and Turtle. Cringe Noms though know exactly what happened and they're hungry for a little bit of pie.
Refresh. Ne, úplně
shot comes through, nothing. Big connected.
Refresh jsou vždycky snáze, tak
I've seen them. Storm Surge really dictating the way a lot of these players are going to play as Psycho and Voltiax are able to catch out Snazy, take him down altogether. Podicide trying to survive, but he gets taken down all the same. The gentle mates weren't handled so gently in that last fight. From a big win to getting taken down before placements.
Prodoxy and Trip. Still just 9 below the Storm Surge threshold. The good news is they do have a lot of players in the surrounding area. And Alex and Sado even looking like they're a little desperate as well with their edits they're doing on the cone. So there should be opportunities here to get tags with that Thunderbolt of Zeus. Prodoxy here might try and pull something off.
Even Trulex and Chicho, they like to spot out some of these sky bases in the distance. They use the quick window, trying to cover as much as possible. None of those shots realistically able to bleed through, but for Prodoxy, you got to give him at least an A for attempting something like that, especially since he's 24 damage below the threshold.
To už moc času na to nemám do konce sezóny. Jsem se teďka uvědomil, že video, kde bylo ze začátku sezóny, jsem ještě ani nevydal, to všechno do sezóny. Takže mám se stříhaný.
At least some damage is gonna hit.
Whether
if it's 11 or 1, being above the damage threshold is where you want to be, but instantly they fall right down below 26, back where they began. But Volko, Vortexes, they're the ones on the other side that have to meet their maker. First one's going to get dropped. Volko goes down very, very easy to Prodoxy and trip him, and they have the choice here. Now that they got all the loot, they got the elimination and the damage for Surge, do you keep going or do you disengage now that you're just getting taken out by Storm? Each second you last is going to be less health you're able to leave with.
It's the big question. As you can see how many players are getting affected by the storm surge. Lightning bolts come from the sky.
Rozhodně tým, u kterého bych to nečekal.
One of the duos,
snaží se
but all they need is one quick shot. Cherry is down below. Can Benno connect the shot though? Players from afar still continuing to apply pressure. No shot's been connected yet. They've lost so much shield already. Just not being able to get that one tag.
That one tag is just causing them so much commotion. Finally, he's able to get one. On the tail, even spotting video out on the other, just trying to keep on increasing that storm surge. They're in such an okay position to stagger themselves back and get the surge, but it has to be worth it. You have to at least get it at the minimum.
Víko šel dolů, jsem viděl v chatu.
Good news.
A Reason,
like I mentioned earlier, being in this part of the map, you can rotate a lot quicker with that river of sticks, even though Reason was unable to do so. Everyone having those dashes also just allows for a majority of the duos to get positioned quicker. Thomas HT and Queasy being one of the duos, kind of just taking shots at everybody that's rotating in, but Benno now looks like they found it. The shots they so desperately needed has put them 70 above, but how long are they going to be comfortable with that?
I like the way he's just taking opportunities and not really backing down from the challenge. That's something that you have to do in moments like this for Benno and Tayson. Be persistent, not really give up on the chase. Two of the greatest players in all of Fortnite. They know exactly how to handle pressure from all directions. Yanis and Flixie, they're the ones that are in their line of sight. Voltiax and Psycho Cool, same ones feeling that pressure outside of the zone, trying to make their way in.
135 above, drop down to 106. Continuing to look for those angles. As now you gotta be careful, the pressure's on them. It's Yanis who's looking to get in. All it's gonna take is one shot from Benno to clean it up. Flixie as well following shortly after. Both players now just on the borderline of getting eliminated with Surge. Benno though is just holding strong, not even taking shots yet. As he knows if he allows them to get damage, it could be what saves them.
They're gonna desperately need to continue to hold their position because there's going to be teams all around them trying to break into the box. Swizzy's feeling some of that same pressure on the other side, but they're ready for a challenge. They've been practicing. They've been progressively building that momentum here throughout the day, and I don't think there's going to be very many teams that can stop them when they're on this hot streak.
Definitely not. What might just stop them is damage dealt. So many players on the borderline. You can see how difficult it is in grand finals. It's no qualifier or semis. This is literally the hardest lobbies to get damage in. And a significant amount.
Dostalo je to na 69 above.
To for them, even though they're falling below the damage threshold, they're consistently doing just enough. Landing one shot here, two shots there, a couple more, trying to bleed through on V and Hriss, who's also getting targeted out by a whole nother team. And that's what you get when you're Swizzy and Vaniac, and you build yourself into this position. You're able to kind of target everybody else that doesn't have that same advantage as you do. Even if you don't get the elimination, you kind of force them into tough spots with their backs up against the zone.
Malibuga, Mustache. Vypadá, že jsou fakt mrtví.
From almost every duo in the lobby. So now they will be forced to rotate. The good news is doing these rotations is going to open up chances to take shots. Will they align is the big question though. It's Swizzy now. Mix of shots from afar, mix of up close and personal. They're going to be able to finish off the knock here as well. It's going to be a good amount of damage. 271 above now. As they'll have to make their way to zone.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where you've been persistent throughout the entirety of this end game, and now you get to reap the rewards and really not having to worry about Surge.
Jsou kousek od high groundu, konečně mají nějaký matro na to, aby ten high ground hráli.
From zone to zone before it turns off all together. And the last time we see Seti and Cammy with the high ground, it was stolen away from them late in the game. Let's hope they can learn from those mistakes and really come out with a huge VR.
V pohodě play. Minimálně hodně známý od Cammyho Asset, jo.
The pressure just keeps on weighing down the shoulders of these players. Tayson's already lost Benno. He's forced to try and hold on. Will he try and pick him back up? Will he just let him go? Pressure from the sides. Trying to think if one of the duos knows who got that knock. Will they continue applying the pressure? This might just be able to pick up Benno here. This could be huge.
Yeah, this could be a big moment for them. And I like the way he assessed the situation before instantly trying to go for that revive. Knowing that anybody around any corner can hear with the audio visuals that Revive coming out and try to attack. And that's why everybody here is proactively trying to get prepared for this next rotation. Majority of the lobby does have the front side of the zone, but there are a few players staggered around that zone that have the furthest distance to cover.
5 seconds, and the rotate begins. Cringe noms now. It's Cammy and Seti. Looks like they want high ground this game. The zones have pulled in their favor. Now they just need to maintain it. They have the water-bending mythic, so they can continue raining down from above. But they're still 9 below. They need to start connecting these shots.
Yeah, not necessarily too worried. Cammy does have that water-bending ability that we've seen terrorize so many teams from above in games past. Sky and Scroll definitely picking up the pace throughout the last couple games, and Tayson and Venom staying ahead of the curve every step of the way, from the left side of the zone to the right side of the zone, knowing which rotation to make to where on the safe side.
Almost down. Queasy once again left as a solo. Just 30 above, forced to connect at least 1 or 2 shots here with the SMG. The zone keeps closing though. Playing as a solo, it's more difficult to go ahead, especially if you're not too healthy on materials. Good news is Queasy has 27 builds. This should be more than enough to get him at the zone, but another solo that's clutching it up is Tayson.
Yeah, top 10 positions for both of these players as solo is going to be huge for consistency on the leaderboard, but Tayson goes down. Queasy, he's trying to make his way in toward the zone, but he goes down as well. Both Chap and Marius get credit for both of those eliminations, even though they're on separate teams. They know exactly what it takes to reach the top.
Svíze a Vandal teďka mají příležitost něco uhrát.
Knocks down another. Noms gets fully eliminated. Banyak and Swizzy now up to 5. They're playing on this border of the zone closer to mid-ground, but are they going to choose to change it up? Wings of Icarus once again conserving their materials as they look up, start chopping down height.
Yeah, this is going to be a big moment for them with Seti and Cammy coming crashing down. They try to figure out a way to hold on to the backside of the zone. It cost them everything. Great shots by Swizzy coming through, and now they are the leaders. They are the kings on top of high ground.
Retaking it at the perfect moment now. Leaders of the high ground, all they have to do is stay up above as Merstash is continuing left alone.
Refresh.
Hey, if anybody can make it happen, especially finding medkits at the perfect moment, it is going to be Merstash, but it's only one medkit, and it's not going to be able to be used. He goes down, top 7 situation. Cammy feeling the pressure. He goes down as well, top 6, and it's anybody's game.
So many duos playing together here. The chemistry is high in this match. Sky and Scroll, they've been incredibly close now. 6-7 eliminations. Looking healthy as well. They might just try and retake height here.
Dávají dobrý pressure dolů. Marius žije, že by konečně nějaká hra, kde Marius zahraje.
Forcing every team that tries to climb up back down into the ground, facing off one next.
Trulex
and Chicho, 2 eliminations so far, 170 points, trying to make up for lost time. And this is a chance when Sky and Scroll on the other time. They're feeling the pressure, but Trulex is up for a challenge.
All the battles forced to unfold in the low ground now. Duo versus solo as Sky now is forced to heal back up. It's Marius though, rotating inside the zone, dropped to 20 HP, just 2 ticks away. Sky as well gonna go down. Marius is still up.
Yeah, everybody dropping like flies here towards the end game, and Marius might be the one that gets the good portion of that loot, but you still got a team positioned right below, with the Kings on top of the council right above. They're looking to be the first team to get at least 2 victories here in the EU FNCS.
Dvědu a Marius je jako poslední solo. Uprostřed mezi dvouma týmama. Dostává spray z high groundu nahoře od
One solo in the middle of the height and low sandwich. Can he make something happen?
Hey, if anybody can make it happen, it is going to be him. We've seen big plays already once, and already you see Swizzy ready to come crash, landing down. Banyak does it again, learning on the fly, but he gets dropped down, and the win is solidified by Swizzy.
The theme continues, crashing from above once again. High ground plus Wings of Icarus. Is this the new meta?
I think it has definitely shaken up a bunch in this last couple of games. We didn't really see it at all leading up into the grand finals, but now things have changed. Players are forced to adapt on the fly.
What a way to close it out. They took high ground at the perfect moment, taking out Seti, leaving Cap alone. And once they were up above, Swizzy and Vanyak, all they had to do was play it by the book and close it out in that last 2 versus 2 where we saw a replica of how the previous match concluded.
Yeah, I was a little scared. I was a little nervous. I saw Swizzy dropping down by himself. I'm looking around. I was like, is that a bird? Is that a plane? No, it's just Vanyak with the wings of Icarus ready to have a crash landing and take that game away. And it was a game they deserved. They've had high ground for a couple of zones. They put pressure on everybody below them to make sure that game was theirs.
That was insane. I'm sure down below they were looking above, thinking the same thing that was on your mind, but I want to see how that's shaking up the leaderboard. So Frankie, what you got for us?
I'm also very excited. I've also learned yet another motto from watching the game today. I love a motto, boys, as well, you know, which is why suffer from full damage when you can Icarus down and cause full damage instead, Levin. And I think it's obviously a tactic that's really paying off for these boys. Do you think it's something they can sustain?
I mean, yeah, it's just so perfect in those final moments, right? One of you spray down, the other one just sort of crash landing your way onto the low ground team, just cause that ultimate bit of chaos. I mean, Swizzy and Vanyak, it's looking really nice for them, really, right now, I'll be honest. 2 wins now, they look so solid. I think the key standout thing for me, and I think we'll see in the highlights in a second, the way they took height in this game.
Yep.
The beam onto Seti and Cammy, who were up there chilling, looking comfy, was disgusting. It was like a laser beam. I mean, they did not have any chance of stopping it. And it's right here, look at this. Seti's just thinking, okay, we're getting chopped out. What's going on? Oh my,
wow.
It's disgusting. What do you do?
I mean, it's that assault rifle. It's that assault rifle they get from their drop. It certainly packs a punch, and you can see exactly the way they did that. They just looked back, sprayed out the back, and of course, Seti had no chance. This is what I really like about this as well, actually. While Vanyak was going down, Swizzy actually made sure that they were just looking at him first, and then instead of actually attacking the builds from Vanyak, which we saw Snazy and Podosai do when they, of course, got their win, they actually just went around the builds and then directly onto the players. We just launched them away, caused all kinds of chaos, and ultimately worked out in their favor.
Like the sacrificial bird trick.
Yes.
the little dive bomb on top. I want to talk about some of the other duos that are still doing well and doing strong. And actually, we should start with Cammy and Seti because, yes, they did get chopped down by the eventual winners. But actually, whether it's Cammy solo clutching or the boys together getting to the end game, they are really impressing today, Miniminer.
Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to see from this duo, right? We haven't quite seen this perfect game from them yet. Even this game, a little bit below up there on height, but it's this water bending from Cammy, the ability to keep on applying pressure to the entire lobby. We saw it even before they took height. They were spraying all the time onto that opposite height, making sure that nobody else stood a chance. Of course, this was a moment right here when Seti went down. Cammy still had the height, but of course he had to drop down. There was no way he was going to hold that against Swizzy and Vanyak. But really, really solid from these guys. They just need to keep up that consistency, which is exactly what we know from this duo, and they'll find success, I'm sure.
And Cringe and Noms, it's actually so surprising that they haven't got Victory Royale yet, Levin, because these guys are fighting tooth and nail consistently, making it to the end.
Yeah, I mean, Swizzy and Vanyak making it tough for them, right? They're stealing all the Victory Royales away from everyone. I think ultimately, right, those 3 teams in that top 3, even I'd say the 4 teams in Seti and Cammy, they've just been so consistent, so ever present in these end games, right? Just every single end game, all 4 of those teams are somewhere deep in there, making a big impact in some way. And so, yeah, if the games keep going like this, I mean, I don't expect to see much more change.
Those eliminations as well. Look at that. Swizzy and Vanyak with 27. Cringe and Noms with 28. That just completely destroys, blows the rest of the lobby out of the park in terms of eliminations. Double a lot of teams' eliminations as well. It just shows that, although we talked about at the beginning of the show, a lot of surge strategies this season are basing up in big towers, making sure to keep your distance. The teams that are finding those eliminations, particularly when they're making it into endgame, and then, of course, taking height, they're the ones that are finding most success.
We last saw Mustache in that game as a solo trying to clutch it out and unfortunately wasn't able to survive the chaos. But do we think that this is a duo that has the chance to really defend their Major 1 title by the way that they're playing so far, Levin?
I mean, by the way they're playing so far, maybe not, right? Because as we've seen, the mid games, the end games, they just look so stretched. Everything looks very scuffed. They're struggling with Surge. They don't have much loot. By the time you get to end game, or by not much loot, I mean much mats, right? The loot looks good in the inventory, but the materials always looks like a very dire situation. The reality is for these guys, though, is again, I hate to harp on this, 2-day format, 1.5x points tomorrow. If tomorrow they just start having a couple of those typical Malibuca Mustache games, if they can figure out Surge, they will be flying up that leaderboard. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet with those two.
Yeah, I think.
Are you hitting the? Oh no, go right
well,
ahead.
You know what? I think we're thinking the same thing, Frankie. I'm kind of hitting the panic button a little bit about this duo because I thought, right, this duo need to have a very, very solid day one, particularly with how that Grimgate situation is. You never know what could happen on day two, because if you look at a team that maybe is in 50th place, they might think, why don't we just land on Grimgate? Why not give it a go for a couple of games, particularly when the points are 1.5 times in placement and eliminations. They're sort of susceptible to getting that team landing on them, maybe multiple teams or maybe teams third-partying in, so it's quite risky for them, and of course having a bad day one is not working out, not going to work out too well for them, I don't think.
I figured that the panic button might be pushed by you, Mini Miner, and I also wanted to ask if you were also considering pushing it for Tayson and Benno.
I mean, it was a team that I said would win. Not too panicked yet, because of course they still have a long way to go.
Yeah, they really do. Meanwhile, Levin, you got a little smug little grin on your face, mate, because Seti and Cammy doing quite well.
It's way too early to speak. Way too early to speak.
It's true. He's such a clever young man, isn't he? This one finding his time to lord it over us all. We've got 2 more games tonight, so let's head into game number 5 with Takata and Jacob.
Thank you so much. And I'd be surprised if you didn't think Swizzy and Vanyak would show up and show out here today. Uncontested for Ballers Battleground, how well they performed through the qualifiers and the semifinals. I think we have a team, might be too early, Takata, that is in the race for that first place spot. And if they perform as well here as they do in day 2, they'll have it on lock as a championship. Let's get right into the next game.
Levin said it best. It's too early to tell, especially with tomorrow being 1.5x points. Anything can still change up on the leaderboard. Day 2 is where we'll truly see everything unfold. Back at Lavish Lair, though, Cringe and Noms once again in a quick head-to-head.
Yeah, and Cringe and Noms are one of those teams. They're not going to split the loot. They don't want to give half of Lavish Lair on and then worry about where they're going to get their loot elsewhere during their loot path. They're a team that wants to make sure this team knows, hey, if you're going to land here, only one of us will make it out alive to finish this game out. And Cringe and Jake, you see them slowly but surely not taking the same aggressive spots on that drop. It shows a little bit of a sign of weakness in my eyes.
Thomas HD, Queasy, still triple con, but once again, have their initial drop pretty uncontested, a freedom to loot a little bit before getting into the action. Last game, they basically got gifted an elimination as they came into the third party. Will it happen again, though? I don't think the duos want to replicate that.
Yeah, I think a couple of these duos taking different spots this time around, including Queasy and Thomas, kind of switch things up, which kind of changes up the whole dynamic of that drop spot in the fight altogether.
Cringe vypadá, že mají docela navrch zatím v tomhle fightu, ale ještě ani nezačal, takže...
Cringe Noms, they just want to prove their dominance here. 278
points
so far in second place. And the games that they've had have been phenomenal. 8th, 4th, 2nd. Their worst game is a 13th with 6 elims. Like, that to me is surprising to say is your worst game.
I mean, it's insane. In terms of consistency, it is unreal, but it's difficult to keep that up. If anything, though, they can make it happen. But as that engagement continues, we can see what else is going on around here. Hidden in the bush, Jacob. No shots need to be shot here. He does not want to give away his position.
Sneaky play, myslím si, že se všimne.
Oh, do they know? Look at the mini-map. Look at the mini-map. The arrow eclipse pointing as the prey is now being hunted.
I really did like what he was thinking. I wish he would have just popped the banana in the fizz while he was still in the bush. That way when he finally ran, he can actually run. But you got to give him an A for at least the effort. Let's see how he's able to stay alive, and we'll grade that one as Eclipse and Dexy just seem to be hot on the chase. Even making him kind of tear off the side of the mountain. Noms and Cringe, they were at least able to get one elimination so far. And that's where you've seen a lot of these early game skirmishes that have been drawn out, taking some time. They're getting quicker and quicker to the finish.
Continuing to hunt now in the 2v1. Upper hand for Cringe and Noms. All they got to do is continue chasing here. Not a lot of freedom.
Rozhodně to minimální na dnešek bude mezi těma dvěma týmama.
confidence
Kdovi
rises. We gotta be careful.
první den.
Punk shot attempted, but not landed. It's gonna be Noms that secures it.
Svíze a cringe.
What's great is that's almost like 8 free points. Anytime that team lands free points, free surge. Obviously, it'll shake things up if they actually go down off spawn, because especially if it happens tomorrow on those 1.5 point multiplier, that's when things can come coming down. And then you also have that day to prepare, look back at a lot of the VODs, figure out what went wrong, figure out what went right, try to replicate the successes while minimizing the mistakes.
You know, what do you do at that point? You go like 0-6 day 1. Do you keep it going day 2 and just try and kind of adapt at the same drop spot, if you switch it up? It's a tough decision you have to make.
Even seen teams like this, Vocal and Vortexers, they're switching things up. Really haven't had the best start to the days so far, even though there's 2 games left. It's not too late to just switch up where you're landing altogether, or just engage out of a fight right out of the gates. And as we tune in, Veno, Tayson, they already have a knock on the POTA side, which is quickly cleaned up by Veno. And they see where Snazy's at, so you know Tayson and Veno strapping up their laces because they're ready to go on the chase.
It's not gonna last too long. As Tayson now drops right onto Snazy's head. 2 shots being connected. Quick, clean. Way to finish it off.
Quick and easy. Talked about possibly pressing the panic button for a team like this. I feel like it's only a matter of time before they become online, start creating some consistency, and go back to the team and players that you know they can be, perform at the highest level. And this is kind of a replay of the first one getting taken down and Tayson cleaning up Snazy back to back on M8.
Tahle lokace, to se vypadal Glen Glacier.
Nathan in the Grand Glacier.
Vico a Pink snaží dát co nejvíc pressure, aby mohli vyfajtit je co nejrychleji, protože čím díly budou fajtit, tím větší je šance, že jim dojde matro a že někdo vykempí ze zóny.
This is a team I felt like we were going to definitely see at the top of the leaderboard, especially with how insanely consistent they've been. Not just the qualifiers weeks 1 and 2, but how insanely they were consistent throughout the semifinals as well. I didn't really see them having as many struggles as they had. 3rd place, 7 elims was their best game, and they kind of fell down the ladder from there. But if a team, any team, can take fire late in the final day of today and kind of start that momentum for tomorrow, it is going to be Pink and Vico.
Panzer trying to hit some shots on
to bude asi to zajímavější, jak bude 1,5krát multiplayer.
But nothing connecting just yet.
By bylo zajímavé s tím, že teďka ten první skončí třeba zhruba podle mě tak se 400 bodama, že by na konci toho turnaje, víš, on ty body asi berou, jako sčítaj se, že jo, takže by
I'm excited to see a little bit more of this early
že
game
by měl třeba ten tým, že v FNCSku 1000 pointů.
You see them kind of leaving Mount Olympus, which means they had an early rotation out of Brawler
Battlegrounds. Možná bude snízy.
Throughout the day, you have seen almost a must carry out of this team and some others of the Wings of Icarus. And then they kind of have the Flowberry Fizz and the Legendary Banana to kind of round it out. And the Flowberry Fizz gives them 2 options. You use it regularly, as normally
Marius jako solo, takže Marius to bude mít ještě těžký klačnout. Minulou hru se dostal trochu výš na leaderboard zase a má docela problém teďka udržet naživu. Je to jeden z nejlepších fighterů na regionu, takže je možný, že vyhraje tuhle 2v1. Vždy si engageuje, má jenom 300 matra.
Marius connect the snipe though? Unable to.
It's almost like going to be a must for him to connect something if he's looking to continue to try to stay alive. Sooner or later, he's going to run out of those dashes. Finally peeking back, misses that one on a turtle. But he's getting ever so much closer as he changes directions very, very quickly, trying to keep his opponents on their toes. Back into the dashes, dips a toe in, and this is going to be his biggest chance to try to create as much distance as possible. Last dash going to be out. Marius, he's doing a good job of creating so much space. I got to give him so much credit for it.
But the hunt is going to continue, Jacob. It's not done yet. The mission isn't over. He starts swimming further and further away. This is going to be a long run. I mean, either he hits an insane snipe, or eventually they're going to catch up.
Vypadá, že mu asi skříží cestu.
They know where players that land the underworld commonly position themselves at. Because even though Marius did a huge cut towards the left, Cheeps and Turtle following him on that same cut towards the left.
Pink zabil Nitrixa.
I think they lost him. I think they finally lost him. Don't know exactly where he's at. You see Marius in the minimap, just north of the underworld, has finally successfully escaped Turtle and Cheeps.
Someone who might be looking to escape shortly. The Buell has lost Velvis. Or Relvis, sorry. So we'll have to see how the escape continues.
It's only really a question of, does he have the reboot card? He did a good job of creating a space, creating distance. But if he doesn't have the reboot card, he's going to have to backtrack, go in that position. And even see just southeast of where he's kind of running to, that little gas station that is parked by.
Že tam kam jde, tak jsou další 2 týmy. Nebo 3 týmy.
With the bunkers opening up, he can rotate in this direction, kind of spot, get information. And he's hoping that a lot of these teams that are positioned towards the north, or anybody for that matter, will try to contest a bunker, so that makes an easy rotation for him to a reboot van.
This is a great opportunity for duos that want to do a bit of damage.
Že bude docela možná i free reboot, jestli všichni doopravdy zmizí od tamtud.
Has he seen something? Does he know? The Trexer is right there as the builds start coming through. He hears the footsteps now. The movement has turned into a box fight.
He almost gets pressure. Path cut off. Shield no more. He does have some left in the inventory. It's just about if he has the timing and the space to try to disengage from this opponent. And it does look like they're ready to go on the chase themselves. He finally makes it to get a couple more dashes, but so do his opponents. Dancing all around, drops just 13 HP, really not given an opportunity to try to survive, trying to create space. Eventually, he goes down to Trexer and Silly Seb, Forzen. They all enter the mix, and that's the thing. You hear the noise, you hear a lot of the fights, and you attempt to try to third party.
Yeah, the promotion comes through, and it's an opportunity for the other duos in the surrounding area. Nexi Eclipse. Raining from above with that water bending mythic onto Pixie and Box, which are fully boxed up here with seems to be no interest of anything except for maybe a potential knockdown as I hear the shots coming through. They might want to break down these builds. Eclipse Dexy aware of this, popping a flow berry to evade that fall damage. And it looks like just one more build needs to be edited here for it to get shot down.
Quickly protecting themselves as well. Pixie doing the right thing of creating a space between him and the falling players that achieves the high ground positioning for them, and they're ready to go ahead. Continue to put that pressure down. You see how careful they're actually being instead of entering into the fight, but taking it layer by layer, piece by piece. And as Dexy and Eclipse fall down, Pixie and Wax slow to follow.
Looks like they want to continue though, even though they did take height here. They're still looking for angles, still looking for shots.
Protože i já vím, že tahle zeď rozbít nejde.
Later on in this match,
velice zajímavý.
More than enough ammunition to spare. They're going to continue seeing if they can connect anything else.
Někdo tu
I was going to say, the further down they go, you're almost trapping yourself with only one exit plan, and Dexy and Eclipse quickly find that porta potty to try to loop and exit out of there, and almost gives them a free rotation side of the mountain. They're also going to get a chance to get those underworld dashes, so I think that's going to be a successful disengage out of that situation.
Interesting structure has been built here at Lavish.
Shows
how many spare materials there might be.
Playstyle.
As Noms is just gonna be maybe taking a nap here as he waits for his opponents to leave and the zones to pull further away.
Aspoň vím, jak se to vyslovuje.
Nefrizzy and Hallie, they're the ones that position just right outside. You see Axe Force in the distance along with his teammate.
Kvízy a Tomas se dostávají
do zóny. A lot of time to wait, especially since the zone is kind of in that position. So I hope he is currently having the reboot card. As we take a look, another rotation from Queasy and Thomas. Game after game, they find themselves deep into the zone, trying to rotate on out, scrabbing together to get any fallen loot, as you see using the bandages, then the med kit. Just trying to get anything in your inventory that you can get your hands on. You see the foraged fruits and vegetables probably going to be next. They just have to be careful because right now they're separated Reckless Railways trying to get together some loot, but they have CZB and possibly Nathan as well.
Větší náskok nad prvním místem, protože momentálně na tom vypadají hodně dobře. Zatímco Kirinč tak umřel, že jeho teammates byl jako solo. Takže je dost vysoká šance, že Day One zakončí Sweezy a Veňák jako na prvním místě.
Good shots.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, do you think they have the medallion, or do you think they're one of those teams that drop the medallion because they don't think it really does enough? It gives you extra damage for the scoped weapons, but I don't think it really does a ton of damage. So you think they're one of the teams that carry the medallion? You think they leave the medallion because they don't want their position to be known?
I wonder if it depends.
Na high groundu, protože to je vždycky nejlepší tenhle tým sledovat.
We're gonna just play a bit more aggressive. Doesn't matter if we have the medallion, or maybe want to do a little sneaky, uncongested rotate. They can kind of decide, choose their liking.
Docela na čas. Tahle lokace je hrozně dobrá na bílý hápka. Vysoká jednu chvíli padá.
531 damage above the threshold currently. With that one elimination, they will combo the Flowberry Fizz plus a launch pad.
Je tam, tohle je hodně dobrá lokace, jediný důvod, proč bych tam asi já nepadal, je kvůli tomu, že to je úplně mimo. A právě takhle se musí rotatit potom, že ho přes zónu. Což ne úplně pro všechny týmy zvládají.
They use the Flowberry Fizz, the late launch pads, because they are contested and have options around them to get that early surge. They're not looking for 500 right out of the gates, they're just looking for about 100, 200 surge so they can make rotations just like this, but as we tune in, a team that's finding those struggles. Trulex, Chicho, 170 points, but once again separated as a solo.
Ooh, this is dangerous. He is gonna choose to disengage with the dashes, but rebooting this late in the match is incredibly difficult, so this might just be another solo game.
Ale nemyslím si, že se to úplně stane.
We've seen Chicho do it in game 1. Trulex do it last weekend, but now it's just a whole different situation, feeling the pressure. So many angles. Now they're just trying to break into the box. 1 HP, pops the legendary banana. Not enough reason.
Trulex tentokrát se dostal trošku dál.
He was solo to How did Trulex go down? Well, it was a well-placed snipe by Kerwa.
A Nomas jako solo. Snaží se klačnout pro to první místo, anebo aspoň se udržet na druhém.
Waiting for the zone to pull away, and now he's used that as his chance to make his way on in. He has a good amount of loot alongside his materials, so if he doesn't get spotted here, he should just be able to keep sneaking his way into zone.
Kamiho, stejný klač. Možná ještě lepší.
And see just eyeing, getting as much information as possible. I think that team might have a little bit of inkling that somebody is floating around, especially little audio cues like that. Mappy and Kiro might not necessarily know that Noms is a solo, and you see him double checking, triple checking, peeking towards the outside. Anybody else slow to rotate in? And you almost have to take those extra couple seconds to be careful like that, because you don't have your teammate those extra set of eyes. At least for now, as Noms does look like to have his eye on her possible reboot opportunity at one of these split areas, but some of the other teams, too, to be exact, have noticed him moving in that direction as a solo.
Jinak to bude mít hodně těžký. Druhý tým nechal free damage. Bohužel pro Nomaze nehytnul úplně nejlepší shoty.
If you want to take this battle, I'm gonna make it take a long time for you, so you better start running away.
This is only just gonna help Noms if he can come out on top of the fight, disengage or not, because now you're just building up the storm surge damage.
Fight, ale bojuje proti lidem, kteří mají dohromady dvojnásobek materiálu.
On the other side, Noms trying to break into the box. This is where you have that 1v1 separation, but finally in comes Forzen, disrupting the fight yet again, trying to save Silly Seb, who actually got knocked.
Seb, I think.
Sweezy
just fell down and
je na tom docela v pohodě. Nemá už moc shieldu, to vypadá. Teďka si Sweezy potřebují zahrát dobrou hru, teď mají příležitost, když jejich největší konkurence chcípla docela brzo.
Yeah, may not necessarily know that those players are suffering the storm surge up until now, where shields get cracked just like that, and now they know their opponents are weak, either taking damage from outside, but even they can notice no other shots pouring in, so it has to be storm surge, and you can see why they're playing very, very slowly, very calculated, knowing that team is taking damage. Eventually, they're going to have to push into Vaniac and Swizzy, and it's going to be a trap waiting for them.
It's a tough spot to be in.
Sweezy a Vaniac vypadají, že jsou na tom hodně dobře. Je možný, že udělají fakt velký gap mezi
It's duos that have qualified to the grand finals. But with Swizzy and Vanyek being on the other end of that doorway, just a couple shots are going to need to be landed here.
Just great teamwork from them. Swizzy's just spraying one side of the build, forcing them to hold their position, hold their cover, while Vanyek is playing up, playing aggressive, making sure that they can't disengage either. Now that they got some shots when it came to that Storm Surge, 324, they instantly start their rotation out. They combine the Flowberry Fizz and the Wings of Icarus, and we were seeing it go so well up until this point, but those define examples of what happens when you get caught off guard traveling through the sky.
Že to je kamel sety, je to tak? Asi ne, jako víc týmů, že ona hraje asi vodu.
They will be able to recuperate what they lost, but might lead to a earlier refresh. Walks Pixie though. Also got themselves in a little bit of an engagement, but it looks like they might have just been the duo that came out on top. Nice little knock came through.
Škoda, že tohle nebyl snipe na Kamiho a Setiho, možná jsem rád, že on nedal sniper, že tohle týmu čekám nějaký dobrý high ground play. Pixie potřebuje dát co největší damage kvůli Storm Surge.
Their hand is being forced by Storm Surge, a blessing for Seti and Cam because they're well above, and with a couple of shots, with a couple of tags from Storm Surge, they are huge leaders here in this one particular fight.
Protože aspoň mají šanci na to dát co nejvíc damage.
And Cammy to drop down Pixie. Now 344 above. Quick little refresh on a bit of the loot and materials. Walks left alone.
Je pro ně hodně dobrý. Myslím si, že mají dost materiálů na to, aby zahráli nějaký dobrý hang
through, knowing that he's low. But so far they're just taking shots from afar. No push coming through yet.
Yeah, just continuously putting the pressure. And what that's doing right now is forcing Walks to potentially make a mistake, and the more pressure they put on, it kind of displaces Walks in different boxes, different elevations, to where that's where they're hoping things do slip up. But that's just because they want to make that quick and easy rotation where virtually nobody has yet to make their journey on over there, except for the ones that have been blessed the zone.
Malibuga Mustache žijou, že by konečně něco zase, že by konečně klačapli nějaký pointy.
No shield. They need to make some sort of miracle happen here as they trail behind. Try and drop right into a duo, but it might just lead to their demise as both players have gone down.
Yeah, sometimes it looks like it's just clear sailing ahead. Start to pounce, but just that additional angle, that 1 second lapse of judgment that really cost you in the end. And this is why it's important, you know, no matter how much pressure they have went through, Vanyek and Swizzy, they're just continuously taking it one step at a time, and they immediately push forward and then find themselves a blessing. Comeback's going to go down, 348, not much for the damage in the threshold, but they still have another team in their line of sights that's beginning to take the focus, and you can see a lot of the calculations going down as we're speaking to where do they go for it, do they not go for it? Since they have the front side of the zone, I think they're going to choose the easier, the less resistant path.
Pink.
Nice way to slide on into that gift. You can see up above it's Vexy for
takže Pink a Malibuga Mustache bohužel umřel. Malibuga ještě je naživu, takže může poslat nějaký solo play, ale Pink jsou naživu ještě oba, takže je dost vysoká šance, že klačnou trošku výš.
This is going to be a great opportunity if you're Swizzy and Vanyek to really create such a huge gap between you and the rest of the playing field. Yes, you have Seti, Cammy, Queasy, Thomas waiting in 4th and 5th place, but over a 120-point deficit before they catch up. Tayson Veno landing a couple good shots to get them 151 above the damage threshold. That's one of the things I feel like have been ailing them from time to time up to this position of the game. They're down on Surge, forced to fight. So as long as they stay ahead of the curve in this game, I think they'll be well off.
Queasy, nice quick tag in the air. Thomas has to be careful. He's been knocked down. Now left alone as Pink gets cracked.
Queasy dává docela dobrý shoty, takže je hodně nad thresholdem.
He really needs to find a refresh here.
Yeah, I think with Thomas going down, he has no choice but to play a little bit more passive, even though he landed that good shot on the Pink, dropping the shields, dropping the HP. At least they got themselves a little bit of a crevice that they can hang on to safe from the zone while they heal up and kind of plan their next rotation. Which seemingly for everybody get a pretty easy pull, which means it's going to be very, very chaotic for most as they finally pick the perfect time to try to rotate out.
Cammy Seti looking to take some shots before rotation. believe they have more than enough damage, so right now it's all just extra. As players plan their rotate. Zone starts closing now. Vico Pink continue ahead. They have shield up now. Forced to use quite a bit of their Flowberry Fizz, but as they're grouped up, they're ready now to do more damage.
Yeah, it's one of the most consistent teams for a reason. They know how to get out of tough spots when it calls for it. Similar to Malabuka and Mustache in that last major. They put the uncontested contested to rest as they win it all while being contested. But Pink goes down. Vico by himself. Huge elimination can be found onto Mappy. Get credit for those points and even more for the placements as his team is fully taken down. But Vico, 163 damage above the threshold. Only has bandages to his name to recover some of that HP. He's flying by almost smooth sailing up until then to try to find his way to the front side of the zone.
Cracked down to 11, forced to pop the bandages, now still has a Flowberry, so he can recuperate a bit of that shield, but he needs time. And with all the duos surrounding him, they're not giving him that time.
Just a moment to breathe. That's all he really needs. Same for Vaniac, who loses Swizzy and loses himself in the mix. First place is down, and it's really up to Queasy here. He's at the top of the leaderboard for players still left alive to really try to close that gap, but he needs to go big. He needs to start building momentum in his side. It's going to be virtually impossible with no builds.
No builds, but he has faith. It's Queasy we're talking about here. Eclipse, Dexy are going to be the ones that have claimed height. Vortex with Volko doing a good job of staying ahead and claiming low. Malabuka's still up and running strong. 165 above, doing a good amount of damage as well as he gets ahead with the dash.
Yeah, quickly utilizing that medallion time and time again. That way doesn't take too much damage. Almost threads the needle with a snipe right there. But Malabuka is persistent. If at first you don't succeed, you try again. Running the backside of the zone, finding only one bandage, but it was a sacrifice that was well worth making for Malabuka as he quickly finds himself inside of the zone in safety yet again.
Queasy taking down Tayson. Benno now left alone as Queasy goes down. Cammy once again as well as a solo looking to clutch it up.
Yeah. Cammy's already been in this situation once today, and he's ready for a tough task to try to pull through one more time with a good amount of points to keep him and Seti's position on that leaderboard intact. You can see him trying to calculate, playing careful, along with Team Trap, chopping down the high ground, fighting for it for themselves. Dexy, Eclipse, everything comes crashing down. That opportunity slipped through Teeny's fingers, and him and Chap come crumbling down to the mid layer.
They said, you took us off right game one. We're looking to claim our spot once again. Malabuka though, one shot away from taking out Heroes. He does it. Gets the knock, claims the elim as well now. Materials have been recuperated, but there's duos in sight. He has to be careful.
Quick thinking to dash inside of the zone to land the shot that mattered. He could only take a few ticks to the storm, and he made it work. His Cammy now finally up for the challenge. Shari's the one who wanted to take him down. Multiple solos still scrounging around, but a couple of them were instantly taken down by Volko and Vortexers.
Picked off one by one as Eclipse and Dexy once again have reclaimed the high ground, but they're not looking healthy. Eclipse just a sliver of HP. Meanwhile, Volko, Vortexers looking very healthy.
Man, they were one of the strong teams, Mini Miners favorites, but instantly the curse happens. They go down. One's left with just a sliver of HP trying to survive the onslaught from Velry and Fire Hunter as they continue to smoothly move through this endgame as they go down to the ultimate low ground and bring it down to a final 2v2. Dexy and Eclipse, Velry and Fire Hunter.
Gotta farm the tree, they have barely no mats down below. Up high, dropping down, shots connecting.
Ale Eclipse udělal chybu a skočil dolů zbytečně rychle bez teammatea. Co stálo výhru.
And that is a prime example. Dexy and Eclipse trying to hold on the high ground zone after zone after zone. They ran out of materials, and eventually Fire Hunter and Velry just chopped them down in the palm of the hands, serving up a victory royale on the silver platter.
They were looking so healthy up on the high ground, but Chapantini said we want a piece of that pie. The battle broke out and it led to the duo up on high. Dexy and Eclipse being forced to pop as many heals as possible, but they were just not able to hit those crucial shots in the last moments.
Yeah, and just see them separated, falling down one after the next. Eclipse was easy, they took him down, and eventually the spray taking down his teammate as well. Just a huge victory royale for Fire Hunter and Velry, starting to build that confidence before the day is over.
Just one more game to be played out today, but we have to see how that's shaken up the leaderboard. So let's head over to the analyst desk and see what they've got for us.
Vandal
Thank you very much. What a tense victory royale at the high ground versus low ground. But as it has been for the last few games, in fact, I think all of the games tonight, boys, high ground had it in the bag for Fire Hunter and Velry.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have it in the bag, right? It was Dexy and Eclipso on high ground, right? They were the ones
that's true.
Yeah, they messed it up. No worry, Frankie, no one noticed. Fire Hunter and Very, though. Fire Hunter, a very experienced player who's been competing at the highest level of Fortnite for quite a long time, and this season Valry, you know, they've not necessarily been making waves, but you know, they pack a punch here and there, and I think in this game they showed sort of on those mid and low ground lanes that they can be composed even through all the chaos, and in those final moments, again, Zone pulling down the hill, Dexy and Eclipse running low on mats, like they hit the shots they needed to, and you know, they win the game as a result of it.
Yeah, I was looking back at some of their placements, and they really haven't had the best season at all. I was looking back, I don't think they've actually earned together this season before now, obviously in Grand Finals. Their best placement, I think, 8th in the qualifier 2 round 4. So it hasn't been their starring season, let's just say. Of course, they play with different partners last season, but it's nice to see them kind of coming out of their shell a little bit here in the Grand Finals. I think they're a team that kind of have a lot to do in terms of Storm Surge with their drop spot, kind of landing in the middle of nowhere, no man's land almost between sort of Grimgate and the Lavish Lair area. So I'm not sure how that's working out for them. Maybe not so much, but clearly got so much talent, particularly from that low ground. They played it really well.
It's really interesting to see Dexy and Eclipse asserting themselves on the high ground to get that second place. I'm going to get it right this time, boys, and everyone watching, I will try. Been a long evening, very hot in here. So I'm wondering why they were able to hold it on for so long. Was it the fact that the usual duos who would take that position were left solo early in the game, Levin?
Yeah, there were a bunch of those top big hitting high players who just didn't have enough in the tank come end game, and Dexy and Eclipse are a team we know can do it, right, in the semi-finals, right, the famous game where Dexy called, hey, look, we're winning game 3, and they do it. We know they can play from high. They did it when they won that game in semis. So again, wasn't too surprised to see them up there. The big thing though with them being up there was that they played it for so long with just bare minimum mats. Like, they were up there for a while with nothing, and that's a credit to them that they were able to hold on. Maybe you look at the rest of the lobby and go, come on, somebody should have looked up and then figured out that those guys had nothing to work with. But at the end of the day, you can't complain. You take the second place.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they had a good game on height there. They won on height in the semi-finals as well. They're a team that do like to go for it. I think it's difficult for them to be the team that are going to take it off of everyone else, but they're a team that will go for it if it is almost gifted to them. They had a really good Grand Finals last season as well for a team that we don't expect to do too well. They came 14th. I'm pretty sure I remember them winning a game on height there as well. So I think this is a duo that kind of have gone under the radar in terms of height teams because they're not the ones that are going to be dominating it, asserting it every single game. But as I said, I think they definitely can do it when they get given it, and they're a team that can hold it well.
Can I mention a duo I feel like have gone under the radar so far, even though they're not really under the radar because they won the first major? Merzash and Malibuka. Because I was impressed. I think Malibuka clutched 5th position in that last game as a solo. I don't know how it's done for them. In fact, we can actually see what it's done for them. It's taken them up 7 places to 9th place. So maybe we're going to see a day 2 or even a game 6 comeback for this Geo 11.
I mean, yeah, it's like I said last game, they will have pop-off games. And especially come tomorrow where those pop-off games are even more valuable, they will just fly up the leaderboards. It's one of those things with Malibuka and Mustache. I think the benefit for them is, yes, sure, there might be concerns of what happens day 2 and more teams sort of try contest. They've not really struggled being contested today at Grimgate the way they did at some points in the semis, right? They seem to be handing people being there with relative ease. So again, I think if they can start to figure out the surge problems, which I'm sure they will as the games progress, there's no doubt in my mind that they will have potential to have more of these big moments, whether they be clutches or big duo games where they pop off together.
Yeah, I think honestly, if they do manage to get that Grimgate coin, that Grimgate shotgun tomorrow, I think it plays into their favor. Teams being a little bit more aggressive, trying to come to them for this damage because they're such a good fighting team, and I think they've struggled so far this season, as we're seeing a little bit today, particularly in the first half of the day, just to go out and find that Storm Surge themselves. It's always going to be beneficial if it comes to them.
Also, another duo that seemed to benefit from our 2nd and 3rd place, Cringe and Noms and Javiul and Relvis going down early, was quite possibly Chapantini. They've gone up so many places. They're actually on the 1st page now. Meanwhile, Vico and Ping are continuing to struggle, unfortunately. Snazy and Protostar also maybe lacking in some consistency. For you, though, looking at this this leaderboard, Mini, which name is surprising you for all the right or wrong reasons?
I think Swizzy and Vanya. I think their consistency just throughout the entire day so far. I've been really impressed. Of course, we saw them get that win. We saw them get 2 wins, of course, as well, right, today. So it's like, this is a team that I think are just exceeding all of my expectations. I spoke about them in the beginning of the show after the game won. I was like, this is a very good fighting team. Are they going to be able to continue that momentum with the zones, with all the different spanners that could be thrown in the works? And they are answering all of those questions. They are playing absolutely out of their mind right now. And I'm just intrigued to see if they can go the distance. Can they go all 12 games?
Well, we've only got time for one more game tonight, Mini Miner. I'm afraid you're going to have to hold your horses because the second 6 of games that you're clearly begging for will be taking place tomorrow. So let's kick off the final game of day number 1 with Takata and Jacob.
I cannot believe this is already the final game of the day. I have so much energy, Takata. I can even do 6 more already here today. Let's just finish out the grand finals. But honestly, this is going to be a good refresher. No matter what happens here in game 6, all of these teams get the rest of the day off. They can VOD review, they can fix the mistakes, or they can kind of expand on a lot of the successes they've had today.
That's the crucial part, right? Seeing kind of what you can change up in that little time frame you have between today and tomorrow. We talked about it earlier. Tomorrow there's a point multiplier, so the duos competing will get more points just from elims and placements. But the battle bus is ready. Let's get into the last game of the day.
I love the way you're mentioning that point multiplier for tomorrow. So no matter if you're about 60 points ahead of second place, 100 points or more away from everybody else, things can change in the blink of an eye for Swizzy and Vanyak. So it's very, very important. No matter how far ahead they are in Game 5 going into the last and final game, they still need to perform at the top of their game. You don't want to let anything go down to chance tomorrow.
Sky Scroll.
It's almost,
it's on a 50-50, but this is one of the most quick engagements we've seen throughout the day. It's instant action right off the drop. This guy's choosing carefully what angles he looks to pursue.
Yeah, taking his time. Slowly but surely dropping down more and more, and because they're just dropping down from above, they're giving him almost an easy path to follow. First shots in, but unfortunately enough, they're able to get the shields off just in time, and they're keep popping that Flowberry Fizz. That was a great opportunity for Scry. Unfortunately, him and Scroll are just not able to really capitalize on it just yet.
Yeah, 24 damage to not get as much damage as he would have liked from that initial shotgun shot. So now they're just going to go back to looting and take this engagement later.
Yeah, I thought I saw on the feed that Cringe and Jake Buka actually went down earlier than we would think, and it's by a duo that you wouldn't guess because they're no longer split dropping at that Lavish Layer. They try to take the challenge to Trulex and Chicho. Unfortunately enough, it's going to be the same fate, and a big start for Trulex and Chicho.
They shut them down quickly. Actually, last game we talked about it. You know, when you keep getting elimed off spawn, how long is it going to take until you try and switch it up? Looks like 5 games was the number for that. In the 6th game, they decided to change it, but did not go their way. Good news is now they'll have a bit more time to kind of pick their right path for tomorrow. But Chicho and Trulex, they might not be done yet.
Not just yet, but they might not even see the Thunderbolt of Zeus in the distance. They do have the Flowberry Fizz, so not really worried about taking fall damage. Just try to create some separation between them and Silly Seb and Forzen. Just trying to sneak up and take advantage of a third-party opportunity. But Trulex and Chicho, they're not going to fall for that beat.
I mean, they're happy with those 2 elims already off the start. They don't need much more. They just want to start farming up, recuperate their mats, and get more loot. So they will continue just making their way more towards the center.
Yeah, kind of moving on over towards Reckless Railways is what it seemed like there for a moment. Reason and Vidil just outside of Mount Olympus. Kind of see their inventory as well. Not necessarily the most heals in the world, but they're definitely setting themselves up where they can kind of contest the bunker like we've seen them in some of the earlier games going up against Queasy and Thomas. Just all depend if that bunker is going to spawn in, because there's 9 different bunkers on the map. Only 6 of them actually do spawn in.
Nebo ne Reason, hlavně Pink potřebuje trošku jako...
You can see though, Reason and Vidil are just split up.
Potřebujeme zabrat, jestli to má aspoň jako ukončit dobře dneska.
I assume it's looting. I was
docela fandím jako Pingovi, protože si nemyslím, že by měl být na 20.
Making sure they maximize their efficiency of the early game route. Queasy Thomas Let's see if something changed up here at Mount Olympus. I don't see any elims on Quizzy Thomas. I see one duo, but I wonder if the other one switched locations.
I feel like a couple of those early games have really forced a huge thought process around a lot of the duos landing towards Mount Olympus. How important is it to really kind of 50-50 fight it all out right out of the gates, especially in Game 6 where you see yourself on the leaderboard and it might not be where you want it to be or even expected. So you almost want to change up early, a game before tomorrow, and start to plan something else underneath your sleeve, as Pink and Vico look like to be the aggressors here against Blaha and Konvic. Pink, just a little bit of damage, forced further and further back before he's actually dropped down altogether.
Gotta be careful now, Pink. Forced to make a clutch happen, the 1v2, but he might just be him. Konvic, full boxed up now, but Vico can just not land his shots here. He needs to connect if he wants to win the 1 versus 2.
Hey, I feel like if anybody's made for something like this, be either one of these two teams on the duo. You see the Flowberry Fizz, Legendary Banana. He's just trying to cover as much distance as quickly as he can to try to disengage out of the spot. He could choose to try and continue to go up that mountain. There is a launch pad up there if he can make it towards the other side, but he is just getting tagged up left and right. The Flowberry Fizz, the same thing he's using to try to escape is the same thing that's giving that line of sight on over to Blaha and Konvic.
Continue to build up.
Vico ale dostal hodně velkou advantage na vzdálenost.
But it looks like he might have just made it out, and I don't think the pursuit is worth it any longer. Or is he gonna actually take the launch pad? No way, right? No way they chase him that deep into storm.
Just say nah, but...
Or do they?
We'll find out later on this episode of FNCS.
Marius now.
Yep. I like to see them both alive.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's duo partners up, so this is an improvement from the previous matches. Hopefully, though, they can keep that improvement going and pick up a couple elims.
It does look like they eyed Zohan and Trash. It's just a matter of, did they see them back? Did they see Marius kind of hunkered down through some of the builds? Whether you see him or not, position is going to be known as he gets tagged up, trying to run away. Trash actually takes so much damage thanks to the backup of Sanguild, who drops the shields altogether. And this is where they're going to get the green light to go. Try to box fight this and get the early Storm Surge damage and even some eliminations, but they have to be careful. Third party is closing in on the distance, which doesn't fare well for Marius and Sanguild, but as soon as I say it, they saw them just over that cover. Marius trying to back down and get underneath his safety, but he's just so separated from his duo currently.
Yeah, he gets cracked as well. Good news is the third party is come to save the day for Marius and Sanguild as he gets a bit of time now to recuperate all that shield he'd lost. Almost found an opportunity, but this has just turned into a 2v2v2.
Yeah, just a lot of commotion going down. You really have to pick and choose, and there's even a fourth team, a fifth team entering into the mix, going in this direction. I think Glebshy and Trexer give a huge distraction for Trash and Zohan to just disengage on out. You see Dexy and Eclipse over from Rebel's Roost. They didn't get the damage they wanted off of spawn, so a lot of these teams, as they switch up their strategies, their drop spots, and their overall loop path, is forcing other teams to switch it up as well if they want that same surge.
It's almost looking like Turtle Wars back with the amount of duos that were boxed up with each other fighting. Noms, Deja Vu, I've seen him crouch behind this box before. Is that a piano, you think, box? Either way, it's that sneak attack that he's looking for.
Play us a song, Noms. Maybe a couch dresser.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe a couch.
Hey, you know, you gotta give Noms and Cringe so much credit in the world, because that requires a ton of patience just to be able to sit there, not get overzealous, not just shoot some shots just to shoot some shots, knowing that you're gonna get very minimal or maybe even no damage at all. But as soon as they kind of know exactly where their opponent's at, you see Cringe and Noms once again just kind of changing their locations. They don't want their opponents to know exactly where they're attacking from at any moment, and that allows for free shots like that to land.
Nice connection. As now, Cringe does not want to fully commit. That's all he might just need are a few tags, but with the counter attack coming through, Cringe getting cracked, Noms now gonna be forced to hold off a little longer.
Oof. Just the constant separation between the two. It's not costing them a lot, but definitely putting them on the back foot in more of a defensive position, which is not necessarily what we've seen from this duo, especially from their contested drop to start the day. They're one of those teams that they like to get the first shot. They like to start the fight with some damage, and then they kind of go from there.
Jade, vidím. Co ještě nehraje,
Actually been one of the duos that's most likely to land the first shot in their engagement.
To dává smysl.
Could be a reason to their success in all of these fights. Sky and Scroll standing quite strong so far, but like we mentioned earlier, day 2 is where it gets even more intense with the multiplier.
Who finishes second, third, and so on. But a win here with a couple eliminations, I think, will at least give them a 1-game lead going into tomorrow's format. Obviously, depends on how many eliminations, double digits plus a win that you get in game 1. But I think they just need to kind of set themselves up, finish off the day strong. Because so far, every single game they've had but one has been in the top 10, including 2 first-place finishes.
Duel having lost Relvis, though. And being so far in zone with the duo close by could lead to danger. It really depends how long he takes here.
And the thing that only worries me isn't necessarily how long he takes, but just the lack of heals that are all around. He's forced to get the fruits, the vegetables, the cabbage, the corn, anything that he can get his hands on for just small amounts of HP. So even if he does have the reboot carb, he almost has to go and travel into zone to get the reboot, because he realistically won't be able to out heal it. And kind of where he's going right now is just the top of the launch pad, Flowberry Fizz. That's going to give him a huge amount of information high in the sky. That way he can pick the reboot he wants to get his teammate back.
Je to zajímavý, protože podle mě z toho off-spawnu budou mít docela dost už damageů na Storm Surge. A podle mě hlavní, o co by se měli teďka se snažit přežít co nejít heal, aby to dohnali Sneezyho.
This is like a huge switch up from the last time we saw Crimson Noms. They were more towards Lavish Layer, finding a whole different team. And now they just continue to rotate around the map, find opportunity after opportunity. Before finally disengaging out of Rebel's Roost. But the zone is over in this direction, so they do have all the time in the world to pick where exactly they want to position themselves before it all comes to an end.
Clutch?
See what they're capable of. The Buell, though, like we said, had that duo close by. It looks like they found each other. Just with that cabbage, sliver of HP has made it. Issue is, no more fruits to work with. You can see the desperation here. He needs to find a med kit, a banana, something to get him a bit of HP or he's done for.
Yeah, it's kind of last hope moving on over in this direction. Bandages, apples, bananas. And he's really not finding anything. He finds the water bending ability, and this is where Debule's time and luck has run out in our 6th and final game of the day.
Oh, there was a med kit under the cone.
No!
A tragedy coming to an end, but on the other hand, Noms and Cringe already taken down one. Clips being the other one that's left as a solo, trying to make his way through the window, but how long will he be able to run away as Noms continues his pursuit? Cringe and Noms land the opening shot 87% of the time in their engagements today. So they are a very scary duo to go up against.
Is he going to do it? Is he going to take the porta potty? I know he's trying to at least cut off an exit. And even though this wasn't the original team that they were fighting over towards Lavish Layer, Dexy and Eclipse did move over in the direction of Lavish Layer. My biggest assumption is possibly trying to get Storm Surge for themselves, which caught the attention of Crimson Noms. And now you can see why they're going to be so aggressive, but another team enters the mix. That's Glubshy, that's Trexer, causing a little bit of a distraction, which is a huge blessing in disguise for Dexy and Eclipse.
Do they need it, though? They've already done so much damage. But they have to decide now, is it worth it to take on a full 2v2 without having the upper hand in the engagement? I don't think it is as they try and disengage.
You see that over towards Rebels on the left? On the west? Underworld Medallion has been dropped. Somebody's trying to play sneaky around the Underworld to either get a teammate back or try to get some free Storm Surge.
Interesting play. For Vaughn and Fastroki. 108. Huge shot onto Payson. Taking out the duo.
Yeah, that's not good for last game efforts coming out of Venno and Tayson. They started this game 6 in around 11th place. Let's see where they fall after it's over. And for Venom and Tyson, they're one of the teams, you heard Mini, Frankie, Levin talking about it. When do you push that panic button? We'll wait to see after this when they break it down and see if now is going to be that moment.
Obrovský
with
počet
6 games in a whole different format in terms of point totals. If you come prepared tomorrow, you can really take over the competition by storm. As long as Vaniak and Swizz don't begin to run away with it in the final game.
Who will be the duo that does it though? It's Cammy and Seti. We've seen this time and time again throughout the day, kind of taking slower rotations through the zone after already having secured enough damage to kind of get through those initial zones. So they kind of pick and choose more of a safer rotation and not put themselves in danger beforehand.
První tým momentálně.
Seti and Cammy kind of known for the slow style gameplay. In the end game, they begin to pick it up where they historically find the majority of their eliminations. As Vaniak and Swizz just on the edge of the zone, not too far for them to rotate. They're just trying to peek back and see what other players are going to be left behind. They see the reboot coming off. They saw somebody else rotating to probably stop the reboot. So they know at least 4 players make it 3 now, with one of them getting taken down over on that side of the map.
Be careful though, Cringe and Noms from crouching to aggression. Might have just caught a player off guard. Eclipse once again left to run away with the shots coming through from the SMG, now actually deciding to go all the way in Storm. They want to clean this up.
Yeah, they have that underworld loot as well. We saw it get dropped on the side of the map. One team's trash is another team's treasure, and with how aggressive Cringe of Noms have been so far on the day today, that underworld medallion is going to be a huge pick-me-up, especially in some of those tight spots to where you might not have heals, but a Siphon will do just right.
Před začátkem hry myslím, že byli.
Thomas
200 pointů. Fokusujou první tým.
Pop-off game from this duo, Jacob. And with the max materials, solid loadout, 215 above, water bending mythic. I just might think this could be the game.
I agree as well. They've been having a pretty solid day so far. I wouldn't say it's anything to brag about considering both of these players' history, but I like the way you mentioned all they need is one pop-off game, and they're due for one, and that one pop-off game would surely boost them up the leaderboards to close out the day here today, and you can see their damage, 363, even though they're rotating deep and slow from the zone like they have in some of these games so far. It's almost a mirror to when they placed 5th with those 4 eliminations in Game 3 to where they had all that surge, and they didn't have to worry about it as soon as they made their way there. And now they're going to get blessed. They're on the side of the Rift Island, which means there's going to be a lot of opportunity to take those rifts, which will ease a lot of the pressure off of their rotation as well.
They also got to be careful with the duo looking back in the zone from the Rift Island. Vaniak, though, has lost Swizzy. Got the 2 eliminations with the pressure from the surrounding areas. They're going to have to overbuild here. They do have the materials to do so from those elims, so now hopefully they can pick Swizzy back up.
Only if they knew Swizzy and Vaniak went down, probably been a good opportunity to try to end the run there. Close the gap or stop from spreading to end this day, and that's going to be a huge saver right there. If we look back at moments, if this point spread gets higher than the current total of 54, if we look at times like this, where Vaniak was once again able to save the day, pick up Swizzy, get him back into the game, and you can see their damage just before Storm Surge turns off, 250 plus above that threshold. There's going to be very little for this team to worry about.
Yeah, they have that full Wings of Icarus. They can continue with these rotations just like you're seeing on the screen here. Vaniak from the replay. Great way to get at both opponents while still having pressure applied from all angles.
Yeah, they might have got the Olympus medallion as well, so they're going to get a little bit of a speed boost. Kind of help them, or at least one of them is. We'll see who has it here in a moment. But the Wings of Icarus going to be the ones coming out. Oh, a nice little hip fire there with the Zeus Mythic DMR. Kind of help them a ton when it comes to that Storm Surge because they have fallen just above 100, and you can see how active they're getting, finding the opportunities. They're going up, down when it comes to that threshold.
Range Noms
Kirinč momentálně se snaží dostat do zóny, budou to mít ještě trošku těžší. Nebude to nějak extrémně těžký rotate, ale budou asi v low priority zóně. Tohle je jeden refresh, který možná budu na tenhle rotate potřebovat.
I think I'm too worried here because they can find themselves with elimination. We talked about the siphon. First shot's gonna be fired. That's on the Toos on the other side. I think Cringe and Noms, they're just trying to back down their opponents, give themselves a couple seconds to stabilize their position, get the heals back on up before they assess their situation on this next rotation. They have a very, very far pull. One of the max here in the lobby, but they're not done just yet. They're going right back in. They want this elimination. They want 4 more points too. So he's just trying to stay alive. He's just trying to get out, but shots coming in from the other direction as well. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, some would say.
Gotta be careful. They do have an upper hand onto this solo. Issue is there's so many more duos in the area, they have to be careful. They know this though. As they quickly decide, you know what, maybe it might just be more worth it to start rotating. Flowberry Fish gonna come through. They have a very long rotate. And it begins.
Jestli se chce Cringe.
Gotta be able to be careful.
Cringe dostal no.
Choose these moments as Cringe just gets beamed by Toos, who immediately falls down, finished off the elimination, but he goes down to Zohan somehow, probably peeking to the back of zone, landing that last shot before he goes down, gets credit for that one, which puts a lot of pressure on Noms, because now he's a solo, 24 below the damage threshold, and a max pull on top of that.
Yeah, all these duos that are already based up in zone are going to be looking back at him. So
I když to půluje daleko ta zóna, tak myslím si, že rotate nebude tak těžký. Jediný problém, co má, je to, že je below, takže 40 skoro, takže pro něj si nemyslím, že bude úplně v pořádku.
Yeah, I want to say, especially
with
so many other teams trying to rotate their way in, getting damage isn't necessarily the hardest thing. It's surviving a situation like this when you become the focus of the lobby. Luckily for him, overbuilding only takes a second, and a lot of that focus instantly stops, especially since there's a whole nother duo trying to rotate, and they're positioned a little bit higher up, which gives teams a better line of sight, and that's why Vortex are scrolling, not even on the same team, but they target out that player towards the outside and take him down.
A další max pool. Tohle myslím si, že může být pro Nomaze konec.
Only thing left now is that Flowberry Fizz. Far pull once again. Zones are definitely not on Noms' side for this 6th game of the day.
Je docela vzácná. Okay.
But a nice little elim getting picked up with that Thunderburst SMG.
I saw that guy just kind of chilling there for a moment.
Nádhernou pozičku na damageování.
Cammy having the same struggle as some of the other players here, down below the threshold. He was able to at least get one. You saw him instantly bounce up the threshold, and he finds another opportunity at an elimination, and even more damage thanks to that water bending ability. Something that I feel like a lot of people are using, but not the way Cammy's using it.
Look, we were talking about it. Thomas HD, Queasy, is this going to be the big match that we've been waiting for? Meanwhile, though, Noms has been taking shots from the back as they're rotating in. He's done a great job so far with these max pulls. If he can make it in here with still a bit of materials, then I could see the clutch come through.
You know, so many players and teams are going to be behind him. He's running out a lot of resources, but you can see him trying to think a couple steps ahead, create some elevation for himself. It's going to be a sacrifice of those materials, but something that he feels is going to be a necessity is Thomas Queasy. Still trying to move through almost unscathed towards the side, and they've been rewarded for it. They get the front side of the zone, which allows me to have a little bit of an easier rotation, but looking at their loadout and the lack of shields, it's not going to be the easiest rotation, and almost forced to find some sort of a refresh to get the materials and the heals that you need.
Good news is as this zone pulls, those players that are running out of materials, that are running low on shields, will start dropping slowly towards the low ground, and Thomas HD and Queasy will be there waiting for them. As Flixie and Yanis, though, are closer to the high ground. Actually fully on height. As they're even connecting shots onto Vexy, and they're going to be looking to hold it.
And it's about time. They're the second most dominant height team throughout the qualifiers. They just need to solidify and execute on that blueprint. It's Thomas. Queasy gets separated. Both of them just a sliver of HP, but Queasy's the one that's going to get knocked. Thomas Has a moment here, a couple seconds to try to reassess the situation, pop the medkit, get him as healthy as possible because he knows without build is not going to be easy as Vanyak finds another 4 points with that elimination. But now he gets targeted out into the distance. Wings of Icarus quickly moving, grooving, finding his way to success here in the game, but just a little bit too high. But that's not going to be too much of a worry until Chicho spots him out and sends him right back out of the lobby.
Thomas continuing as a solo now, has to be careful as he's dropped his toes into the water. Zone pulls back once again, just one build to work with. He's gonna have to get right back up this ridge he just dropped down.
Even though he's by himself, this is the big game we were looking at from Thomas and Queasy, especially with both Swizzy and Vanyak down and out of the game. Majority of those placement points are right here, right now, into this top 10 position, which Thomas can try and scrounge up for him and Queasy as they end the day, and he's doing a great job of going through almost unnoticed. The patience, the discipline to not fire that shot and give away his position as well.
Continuing to make it on in. 16 seconds left till zone fully closes. Clock's ticking. Be careful though. Does he know a full duo on his left? He's gonna be forced to break the cone here. And so far, he's still up and going.
That's Kerwan's duo down below. Thomas finding out another answer. Gets a good flank on to trip him. Great shot could be landed, but not enough. He cannot continue to get aggressive and solidify this fight just yet. There are too many teams right below him, including his duo for Doxy.
Literally one edit away from being dropped, but Kirwa is going to be the one to clean him up. Chicho, Trulex, strong duo, still looking healthy.
Yeah, trying to make up for lost time. Didn't matter if another team went in, tried to contest them. 5 eliminations so far for Chicho. Ready to add even more to that total battle for the high ground. Cammy Seti, they're ready to challenge Yanis and Flixie, but everything comes crumbling down. Cammy gets lost, Seti gets taken down. Yanis and Flixie have now solidified the high ground for themselves.
Continuing to hold it strong as Mustache is going to be the next one to go down. Moppy now left alone with Kiro in the dirt. They have the low ground secured, but they're out of materials.
A big moment for them if they can really rise to the top. Trippin still alive as well. Fast Roki dropping down simultaneously. He's going to take down Trippin before going down himself to Kiro. But luckily Fast Roki still has his duo left alive, trying to get the points. Chicho, Trulex challenge high ground for a second, but bite off more than they can chew. They get sent down low to the low ground and separated as Chicho falls.
Trulex left alone, has a banana, has a medkit, gonna play the heal off here. Clock's ticking, but he's securing placements.
And this is something he's no stranger of. He's able to pick up those 38 points as a solo in the semifinals to give him a qualifying opportunity just to make it this far, and he's staggering himself back. Hopefully, some of these duos go down, giving him free placement points or position on the flank to try to disrupt, take somebody out, and snatch together an opportunity to steal the game.
Once again, Clover getting put to good use here, continuing his rotations, but the remainders are just duos, incredibly healthy. Trulex is going to need to make something happen on low. Moppy now has lost his duo partner. Flixie gets the knock. Trulex with the counter attack though. Yanis now left alone, but he takes out Trulex.
It's almost looking like a solo FNCS to end the game. A lot of the players' duos are down and out. Yanis starting to heal off. He's trying to go deep in the zone. Mappy knows he's trying to stop it, but he gets taken out. Cancels the medkit though. He did his job. But it's Yanis with a second medkit in his inventory with ease. Steals the game on back and rises to the top with a big win for him and Flixie.
Basically every single moving zone, they held strong. They had it contested by Cammy and Seti, but it was no problem for them closing it out with a great way to finish day one.
Yeah, you don't go through the qualifiers and be known as the second most dominant team on high ground, and you now have gotten that big win out of the way, and they've done it yet again. These opportunities, taking down Kiro, and even going to the backside of the zone. Yanis playing that one perfect, knowing it's all or nothing. It's this or lose. Even though the first medkit gets canceled out, he has one more left in his back pocket for a big VR.
I got scared there for a second when Moppy canceled the medkit, but it was no issue. Another one in the inventory was more than enough to close it out. And now with that victory royale secured on day one of the UFNCS Grand Finals, they're going to be going into day two feeling quite happy.
But there's a bunch of players who have won some games throughout the day and teams that went down early on that leaderboard. Let's throw it on the analyst desk to break down all the action for day one.
Thank you, boys. Can't wait to have you back here tomorrow for the final 6 games of the Grand Finals. And you know what? I'd almost forgotten that Janice and Flixie were in this lobby because they were in 45th place as we head into game number 6. I don't really think there's an established duo who needed a victory royale more, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, it's been mostly a day to forget. They definitely won't forget the last game, though, because they managed to get the job done. I think we've seen a couple of games now where they've been really sort of just struggling with Surge out of Reckless, right? We saw them in a couple of fights, you know, bunkers and whatnot against Pink and Vico at times throughout the games.
Jako i když nevyhrajou, tak vždycky dají tak dobrý highground fighty.
It's a nice way to end out the day in terms of being able to boost morale going into tomorrow, Mini.
Yeah, these are two fantastic players. I mean, they hadn't broken at all into that top 20. Just looking now, their best game before that was 23rd. So they really just struggled, as you mentioned, with that surge, getting into this late game. And of course, it's the first time we're getting to see them in the late game today. And it just shows exactly what they can do. They can win on high. Of course, the teams around them there at the end were teams that were a little bit lower down the leaderboard. So they didn't quite have that same prowess maybe that some of the top teams might have on high. But it's nice to see them winning on high. It's nice to see them ending the day in style. Hopefully they can continue that momentum in tomorrow.
Yeah, it shows that experience that these two players have, right? If they can get to that end game, they can definitely secure a victory royale. Setting Cammy, however, might not be securing loads of victory royales at the moment, but they are securing end game, even if Cammy's having to do it as a solo mini-miner.
Yeah, Cammy's been really, really impressing me today. I think this is one of the best performances I've personally seen from an individual in this duo, because it just seems like he's doing so much damage throughout the entire game. We saw them there below on Surge twice, no problem. Cammy's got you covered with an elimination. Cammy x Waterbending could be the best duo in the world. I don't know what's going on with this, because he just knows how to use that. We saw them use it in the qualifiers and of course in the semi-finals. They seem to have their strategies on lock, and although it hasn't been the perfect day for them, I'm sure they'd be openly admit that it wasn't quite the day that they would have hoped it would have been in terms of getting victory royales and getting some high elimination games, but they'd be very, very solid. I think it's only one game outside of the top 10 today.
Yeah, the game plan's been on point. Surge, we've seen some of the ideas they've been cooking up in terms of just playing in that storm deep and, you know, using the pads that they have around them with the flow berries to get some distance. All in all, very solid stuff. In the end games, I think they can clean them up a bit, right? There's things to work on there. Obviously, we saw that last game, the sort of hype.
Sety a Kami já si to prolínu ve Fortniteu, protože to bude lepší. Tak jo, koukneme se. Takže Svízy a Vaňák první, Cringe druhý, Kami a Sety třetí, Chico a Trulex čtvrtý, Tomas a Kvízy pátý, Antic Sky a Antic Scroll sedmý, Mustáš a Malibuga osmý, konečně to trošku jako pick-upli zase, Reason a Wave desátý, Marius a Kosma 13. Trošku to zase taky pick-upli. Teeny a Wave a Chepix. No, myslím, že to je to. Falcon Tyson na 17. Není úplně nejlepší, jinak Tysona tak jsem potkal tenhle měsíc v rankedech. že nice. A Vico a Pink poslední z těch hodně známých prohráčů. Tým, který bych rozhodně nečekal, že tak bude. Že takhle skončí. No a jaké Buga si furt drží 0 pointů. Si myslím, že tenhle tým úplně nejlepší nebude. Jako aspoň doufám, že 1 point. Za celý den 6 her, 0 pointů. Jako já chápu, že jsou asi lepší jak já, protože jsem tam kval 0, ale myslím, že aspoň 1 point bych dokázal sebrat. No tak to je pro dnešní stream všechno. Hezky jsme dokoukali celý. Doufám, že můj komentář byl aspoň trochu zábavný. A to je všechno. Takže